Hello, Chicago, TGIF to your friends. Welcome to the voice of the Chicago sports fan, Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse. Thank you so much for kicking off your weekend with us tonight. We boldly go into the wild, unknown Chicago sports future and predict what's on the horizon for your favorite Windy City sports teams, who you ride and die with every day. Folks, we have got the band back together for a new Friday night show, Friday Night Lights. So excited to have an all-star. You want to talk about murderers row, guys? I feel like I need a piece of pen and paper for autograph. We've got Leroy Pinky the Phenom Pinkston. The third is in the house. The great
Yes,
American DJ Matt Cooper. You know him from the Knoxville Wolf and 97.3 hits. And also, big game Brandon Duplessis is in the show as well. Gentlemen, how we doing tonight?
Oh, it's blessed, baby, blessed. Glad to be
Doing
here.
good, quick.
Dude, happy to be on
Nice to
tonight,
have
man.
your
Good to
band
see
back.
y'all.
Yeah,
It's
glad
guys,
to have
Thank
the
you for
band back
having me
together,
tonight.
baby.
yeah, it's been way too long, guys. I've been I've been caught up with my station doing all kinds of basketball games, but I've been watching y'all. Y'all just been absolutely killing it, all of you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
great to see y'all. And talk about killing it, guys. Our special guest tonight is the creator of one of the fastest growing Chicago's football and Chicago sports shows on YouTube. It's your ultimate destination for all things football and all things for Chicago Bears. He's got 1.6 subscribers and growing by the minute. He is our good friend Keith of the Nomad Network. Keith, my friend, great to have you. I'm thinking, Keith, it's been a busy few days for you and everybody at the Nomad Network, huh?
To say the least, man. Yes, I'm actually one of the co-hosts. I'm proud to be a co-host with Nomad, who actually came up with the idea of the Nomad Network. More importantly, the direction that we're going in with regards to just sharing great content regarding all things Chicago Bears. And as we go into these uncharted waters that we're
Yeah.
getting ready to venture into, as far as the off season, yes, it has been a very busy week for us, to say the least.
Absolutely. You've been following the news from every angle. And folks, we will break down everything Bears draft with Keith for you tonight. Keith, if we could start off at the top. I mean, we boy, you had to be living under a rock not to know what's going on lately. Of course, Bears general manager Ryan Poles tipped his hand this week with the trade heard around the world, the dealing of Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a conditional 6th-round draft pick that could become a 4th-rounder down the road. So from everything that, as you've been following this story, Keith, you and your great team at the Nomad Network, do all signs now point to the Bears drafting USC Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Caleb Williams with the #1 overall pick next month?
It appears to be that way, yes.
Yeah.
It seems that Ryan Poles has made his mind up that he wants to, I guess, set his legacy as the new GM at the Chicago Bears and draft his quarterback. It definitely caught us all off guard, especially myself. I'm on record for saying that I thought he should have kept Justin and built around him. But I mean, I'm not the GM. He made his decision. We're going to have to live with it and move forward. But right now, everything is pointing in that direction. But again, though, Ryan Poles has shown that he tends to move at his own beat. So we don't know yet. I mean, according to the media and all the projections, yes, but we still don't know. I guess we'll find out, though, right?
Yes, we will find out. Hey, and if we could hold that thought, Keith, for a while, ladies and gentlemen, we have an absolute Chicago legend joining us now, ladies and gentlemen. He is the record-setting former Bears quarterback, the great Erik Kramer, joining Monsters of the Madhouse tonight. Eric, my friend, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Enjoying always talking about the Bears, listening to it first. So that gets my juices going a little
Yeah,
bit. So, yeah, looking
absolutely.
forward to
We
it.
we cannot wait to pick your brain on what the Bears have up their sleeve for the draft coming up here in just 34 days, believe it or not, fellas. But folks, want to also touch base on something that Eric has been working on for the last couple of years. He is, of course, an inspiring and courageous hero to so many Bears fans and so many sports fans the world over. Eric has a book, The Ultimate Comeback: Surviving a Suicide Attempt, Conquering Depression, and Living with a Purpose, that he co-wrote with William Croyle. Erik, I've been reading it. This is powerful. It's compelling. It's a wonderful, absolute wonderful read for anyone going through hard times. If we could start off with you a little bit about the book, where folks can get it on Amazon, and then also anywhere where books are sold throughout Chicagoland. For you, was this something for you that was really for your healing process, something that really allowed you to really kind of come back from the ledge a little bit and really find your personal mental health again, this writing process?
I think a little bit it did. Yeah. I started out writing it for, I think, my kids, for
Yeah.
Griffin and Dylan. And what I found in the process was, in addition to that, is that it gave me my own sense of what happened.
Mhm.
And what ended up happening there was the people who have now either begun or have been reading it and buying it, it's connected us in a way that I didn't foresee. And so I think the idea that mental health now is such an open and talked about necessity, and for all ages of people, not just adults. And I think that being proactive with your mental health, I think, is where it's at.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to thank you for sharing your story with us. It's 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 humbling, and it's also amazing to know, it for people like me who grew up watching you play and things like that, to know that, the human side of the larger than life legends that we watch on TV. And and me being a former athlete, being able to relate to some of the things that you went through, the struggles. Um for me, it was like being told that because of my concussions I can never play again, and and other health reasons too beyond that, with my spine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the disheartening feeling that you get, that rock bottom, like you don't feel like you have a purpose anymore sometimes. And it was you go to a dark place, and then you realize, like I said, reading your book, you realize that, there's hope, there's ways to get around, there's ways to cope with it, and there is purpose out there beyond, the athletics, of like
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah.
Sports is life, but it opens the door to other parts of life. So it was very inspiring to read your book, to say the least.
Thank you.
And
I
I appreciate
appreciate
you
that.
for
And that's kind of
it.
what I alluded to, is how it's turned out to be, in its infancy stages, a joiner of people, because my story is everybody's story. Not everybody shoots themselves in the head, but everybody does have something's coming along the way. Like, we all know it. And when I say something, challenges are coming. And so better to know how to endure them before they ever come. They're coming. So it's kind of like driving a car. You better have brakes, because there's a cause to have brakes coming. And so and I think that's what I mean, is that it's a look into my life, but it's also a look into everyone else's lives. And better to get ahead of it than sort of be tumbling behind it.
Yeah, that's an awesome way of putting it.
Well, Erik, thank you for coming on our show again tonight, man. It's good to see you. I remember last time you were on, you had the Chargers gear. I was trying to see if you had the Chargers gear on today, like last time, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to call you out for that.
Yeah, I got it. I mean, I've played for more than one team, but
Yeah, I know. But as we get ready here for the draft, Erik, and we're about a month away. You got a lot of athletes going in, and they're doing their training, trying to figure out where they're going to be or what they're going to do. What piece of advice would you give to somebody that is trying to prepare themselves for this? Something that maybe they're not necessarily thinking about, because I know they got some of the training and some of the coaching from some other people, but what would you give to them, whether it's a receiver or a defensive end or any type of position that's going into this draft?
I would, by now, everybody who's played this long in college and before that has some sort of off-season process. I would just say stick to that, and all that entails, which it's a lot more than physical, and it's whatever you do mentally and emotionally, watching video. You can't ever know enough, and you can't ever be too flexible, and you can't ever be in too good a condition, both mentally and physically. And I would try to steer clear of saying, oh my God, here's this day I've got to prepare for. No, you don't. You don't do anything on the draft. You don't. There's nothing that says there's no game day. It's draft day, and all your work's put in ahead of time, and then it's just one day, which then is going to be followed by a mini camp, and on you go. And so I think just learning how to, like anything, I mean, if you focus on I've in a tense way, that's what you don't want. You want to be able to move and flow freely, meaning the way you move, think, and react, you want it to all be in concert. You don't want to be sort of start, stop, start, stop. And so this is just this time of year should be like any other this time of year.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. That's definitely some great word of advice, more importantly. But Eric, I have a question for you. Having been a quarterback and a leader in the locker room, with what we know that's coming up in the near future for the Chicago Bears, and they're going to be drafting a new quarterback, what advice would you give that young quarterback first and foremost, but more importantly, what do you think the atmosphere may be in that locker room when that young man steps into the locker room once he's been drafted, once he knows he's a Chicago Bear? Can you give us some insight on how that's going to all come about, or what we think it may turn into with regard to him coming into the locker room? How is he going to be received by the veterans?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that this is where the beauty of Matt Eberflus has the combination of him and Ryan Poles and their staffs together have decided that I was at the alumni game last year and have been for several, and that was the first time. It was a dinner the night before that Ryan Poles got up and said, "Hey, what we're building is for the future. We want to win now, of course, but we got a long range view in mind." And I think that is everything you hear about Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus. They love doing what they do. And I think that's the environment that whoever they draft at quarterback, and I think you're right, I think it will be Caleb Williams. I think whoever steps into that locker room, not only him, but everybody, doesn't matter if you're Tyson Bagent, an undrafted free agent quarterback, or if you're the last free agent signed, it's going to be the same for everybody. And I think that's the beauty of what the Bears and some other teams build, is that they're not building to isolate people. They're and like you've got I've been around for 7-8 years. Who are you? You just got here. No. And they're kind of building the opposite of that. And that's what I like to see. That's what every good winning organization, sports or otherwise, whether it's a family, whether it's a company, this happens to be a football team, it should all work the same.
Eric, I want to thank you again for being on the show tonight. I have a question for you in regards to production. You still hold the single season passing record for the Chicago Bears in 1995. You threw for 3,838 yards. Ryan Poles is putting together something pretty special here, a good offensive foundation. We have 2,000-yard receivers. He brought in a running back that's caught 300 to 400 yards his career on average.
Yeah.
What do you think the possibility is that a rookie quarterback is the first quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards plus on the Chicago Bears? That
is a great question. And that's what I was going to start talking about, is that this whole off season, I was hoping that the Bears would be in a position to sort of trade back away from that number one spot and accumulate picks. And what I think Ryan Poles did a great job of is reading the room in that no one behind us is looking to trade up. In fact, they're all just going to wait out the draft themselves. And so he went ahead and goes, oh, okay, well, then I'm going to build a team before the free agency ever, gets going. And they've got a squad now. And so whoever steps into that quarterback position, they've got three solid ones. Brett Rippon's good. Tyson Bagent's proven himself. And whoever steps up out of the draft is also going to be good. But the most important thing is they've got a good crew around them, meaning offense, defense, the culture of the offensive, defensive staffs, and collectively, I think this probably couldn't be a better situation for anybody. Like, I love the Bears organization as a whole. Young players, veteran players, coaches, GM, staff, everybody seems to be on the same page and all rowing their oars in the same direction.
Yeah, great point there too. It seems like this team that's making this decision has really looked at it from every angle. But now let's have Erik Kramer be Bears general manager Ryan Poles. Two-part question here for you, Erik. If you're Ryan Poles, do you go with the house money pick? Do you select Caleb Williams with the number overall pick in the draft next month?
I really don't know. I think they have probably sliced and diced and looked under, above, over, from the side. Who to go with? It doesn't matter. Go with them. Because think of all the Super Bowls that have been won with less than superstar quarterbacks.
Yeah.
If you put a team around whoever steps into that spot, chances are the team's going to be good, that player's going to be good, the coaching staff's going to be, everybody play. That's what I see this being built as. Not around one guy, but an entire team and organization. And I don't think you can miss if that's your way going in. And so I really don't care who they draft at quarterback, if they go quarterback, and I think they will. I could care less. What I'm intrigued by is the number 9 pick, because I think there you can either yourself get still an elite left tackle or an elite edge rusher, or that's the spot there that's going to have trade value, because there's going to be plenty of teams behind you that want that pick for somebody they want. And so you still might be able to trade back with that one and get who you want, but then get a player and at least one pick.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Bears have with Keenan Allen, with Montez Sweat, with DeAndre Swift. They are finding ways to acquire talented players and draft picks, talented young players. And I think that's, they are following a very disciplined playbook. And it's nice to see. I mean, think of all I didn't grow up a Bears fan, but think of all the years that have the Bears have toiled in mediocrity or less. And this, for the first time to me, in any extended period of time, they look very competent everywhere.
Yeah.
It feels like we're ever going to break that franchise quarterback drought, guys. This is probably our best moment. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the voice of the Chicago sports fan, Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse, Friday Night Lights, coming to you live on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. Over 100 people now in the chat room. Be sure to join us.
Over 100 in the chat. Yes, sir.
Exactly. Everybody join us. If you have any questions, we are visiting, of course, with record-setting Bears quarterback Erik Kramer, giving us his thoughts on the Bears. And, you just brought it up too. Every one of us, all 6 of us, know the Bears history in terms of trying to find a franchise quarterback. It's been a 5-generation struggle in the days of the great Sid Luckman. Talking about this monumental decision for this, Erik, you played for this organization, you wore the blue and orange. is this a pick, getting this one right, essential for this team's ability, not only to try to make a playoff run in 2024, but to be a competitive NFL team for the next 5 years?
I think and beyond. Yeah. So I think that this is where to me, the brilliance of Ryan Poles and his staff is we're seeing it minute by minute. He's not waiting for this pick to be the end all be all. He's building a team over time that is going to, all this guy's got to do is go in and do what any quarterback would do: make good decisions, be accurate. Done. And if you've got some athletic ability, super. And if you can break a tackle or two, great. But if you can read defenses and move defenders and anticipate throws, that's your job. And if you do that, everybody wins. Offense, defense, everybody. And then, like you said, you got guys coming out now that, like Bo Nix, for instance, he's 24 years old. He's been around a while. This guy is, I mean, whoever gets him, in my opinion, is going to be pretty good too. And Drake May and so on and so on. So there's some talented guys. But to your point, is this critical to have this quarterback be the greatest thing ever? To me, no, it's not. He can be good, and the Bears can still be great.
Yeah. So that was part of my question I was going to pose to you, but you kind of answered it. So out of, let's say they actually do what you earlier suggested, that they maybe trade down with that first pick. You kind of hinted that you like Bo Nix. Do you think that's a direction they may go if they decide to actually trade down with that first pick, or do you think they'll probably take
I don't think they will, because I don't think there's going to be the team that's going to give up what they want, what the Bears would want to give up that number one pick. I just don't see that. I think with the number 9 pick,
interesting,
somebody could give up something.
Yeah.
Which I think could potentially, make it enticing for the Bears to not only get who they want, but maybe get better than who they want. Maybe get a player that's currently playing in addition to that draft pick. Kind of like what they did last year with DJ Moore. I mean, he's one of the best players in the league. And they still got picks in above that. And so I think that's what I see happen to that number 9 pick. I think that's kind of when the draft for the Bears is going to take off.
Okay.
Hey, Eric, Armando in the chat asked, are the Bears on par with the Lions? I'm wondering what your thoughts on that are.
That's a great question. I think the Bears this year are going to be what the Lions were last year, meaning they're going to be relevant all the way through. Right. And if you remember, around week 12 or 13, Jared Goff started slipping off the cliff. And everybody that was patting him on the back as the greatest thing ever, all of a sudden weren't. Is he really the right guy? Well, he stuck to what mentally he had the right people. He had the right inner drive himself, and he had the right people around him, meaning from the head coach on down. And I think that's what the Bears are building here. Exactly that.
They are building something great indeed. Hey, Eric, we know you've had a busy man. We thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
It's been
Thanks, Eric.
honor and privilege for all of us talking Bears football with you. He is Chicago Bears legendary quarterback Erik Kramer, as Brandon said, still the Bears all-time leader, single season for passing yards and touchdowns, and also the author of the inspirational book, The Ultimate Comeback, folks, now available at Amazon.com. Folks, we cannot emphasize enough what a powerful book this is of
go read
giving you his courageous story of his triumph over depression. Check it out if you can. The Ultimate Comeback by our great guest tonight, Erik Kramer. Eric, always great visiting with you. Thank you so much for your time, and all the best to you and your family going forward.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you.
Go Bears. We got to have a big draft now, too.
Yes,
sir.
Yes, we do.
Amen.
Have a blessed weekend.
All right, you too.
EK is on it. Eric's right. 34 days away from NFL Draft 2024, monumental draft it will be for the Bears. Erik gives us such great insight, fellas, as we now pivot now to our next special guest tonight, Keith from the blockbuster YouTube show, the Nomad Network. Keith, you talked about a little bit with Erik, the Bears don't need this pick to be the next Peyton Manning. They don't need this pick to be the next Patrick Mahomes. They just need whoever they take number one overall to be a contributor that can get them from point C, where I think they are now, to point D, which would be the playoff. Your take on that? Does this draft pick mean Caleb Williams doesn't have to be all pro out of the gate, right? With the way the Bears have built this team, they could contend in 2024 with him just being a game manager?
That's a great question. And to back up what Erik was saying, that's why I was kind of surprised by the trade myself, because I thought that we had finally shown some competence on the offensive side of the ball, and we finally think we have somebody in the building that can actually develop a quarterback. And I would have liked to have saw the incumbent that was here have that opportunity. But since he's no longer here, we're going to move forward. I still think that we can just draft somebody that fits the mold and what the identity of what the Chicago Bears is going to be, especially offensively. If they do that, I don't see that where they can go wrong. The biggest problem in the NFL today is it's a copycat league.
Yeah.
If one team is doing it or one guy is doing it, all of a sudden everybody wants to be that team and have that particular guy. But again, there's only one Patrick Mahomes, and I use him because right now, I mean, heck, he's the back-to-back, champion, correct?
Yes.
But I think if we just take a step back and say, what is the identity of the Chicago Bears going to be offensively? Regardless of what they do in Kansas City, regardless of what they do in Cincinnati, or any other city where they have what we consider dynamic quarterbacks. What is our identity going to be? And let's go get that guy. Whether it be Mr. Caleb Williams, whether it be Jaden Daniels, whether it be Bo Nix, whether it be J.J. McCarthy, we have to identify, first and foremost, what that identity is going to be. I think once they have done that, whoever that they decide to draft and build an offense around that player's skill set, the Bears can be not only a great team, but a phenomenal team and a team that can compete for years to come.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Sorry, you were saying, Brain? Sorry. I didn't know you were going to say something, Brain? Okay.
No, go ahead.
You touched on some great points with that. I definitely agree with you on that. My thoughts with this team and the way they built it, the kind of piggyback of what you were saying is that I do disagree. I do think that the quarterback does need to be not necessarily Peyton Manning, but he definitely needs to be more of like a CJ Stroud for us to be where, for us to know that we're on the right track. We have to see that kind of development off the bat, especially if we're investing the first round pick and, going this route with the weapons we have. And yes, I understand we have to have an identity, but if you look at it, this offense, the way what we built like a almost like a track meet team that's literally going up and down the field at will. So fast pace, lots of gunslinging, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, let it rip, 10, 20, maybe 40 yards down the field, kind of progressions. It's not going to be just so much, this way. It's going to be, okay, 10-yard, 20-yard, boom, we got a 40-yard guy down the field, open bombs away kind of offense. And that's what it's going to look like, in my opinion. And I feel with the weapons we have, there shouldn't be any excuses for the quarterback not to be on par numbers wise, at least, of what CJ Stroud performed. Will that result into wins? Maybe, maybe not. However, if the quarterback that's coming in can put up those type of numbers, we're on the right track. And then the development from there forward will start producing more wins and things like that. We'll start filling the holes that we need to. But I feel that we need to have the quarterback have that kind of performance stats wise for us to, as a fan base, to feel like we're on the right track. If we don't see that, I don't know if we're on the right track yet. In my opinion.
I agree.
And that's just, I know that may be harsh to the quarterback, fair or not, but with the talent we have, the quarterback who steps in needs to be able to perform stats-wise, at least. I'm not talking about wins or losses. Stat-wise, that quarterback needs to be able to put up the type of numbers that C.J. Stroud put up with the talent that we have. Because we got more talent right now than what the Texans have. We have a better offensive line. Yes, we have a better offensive line. Our line is fitted out better than theirs.
I agree with Keith.
Out way better.
I don't think the rookie quarterback of the Chicago Bears needs to be an all-pro. I agree with you, Keith, but I also agree with Leroy. And this is probably the easiest situation a first overall quarterback selected is going to have to be the rookie of the year. I think a season like that would not overwhelm.
I don't similar numbers. I'm saying just the numbers. He may not have the wins that will propel him to an all-pro like with C.J. Stroud, but I think what C.J. Stroud had, 4,100 yards or something like that, passing or whatever, and maybe like 200, 300 yards rushing. I think that's very doable for the incumbent quarterback that comes in. It doesn't matter which one that we get. The system will be in place for them to thrive. We have the weapons to help them thrive. That's what I'm getting at.
I agree with you. I think the Bears have built a pretty good foundation. That's why I think, I'm going to relate to what Keith said. I don't think you need your quarterback to be an all-pro player. I think you're right, Leroy. The expectation is they should overachieve. They're surrounded by talent, but because of the talent they're surrounded by, do they need to be Peyton Manning to eventually win a Super Bowl with the team they've got? I don't know. It depends upon what's going. There's a lot of things that are going to happen in the future. Is Keenan Allen remain a Chicago Bear after this season? Do they draft another receiver in case he's not? But I agree with Keith. I don't think a player needs to come in and throw 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns in order to win with the Bears team, with the team the Bears currently have now, the roster they currently have. They finished last year over the second half of the season with a top 10 defense. They've added a plethora of talent around whatever quarterback they're going to bring. I mean, let's be honest. This is the hardest situation to fail that a first round quarterback might ever be drafted to.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, good point. Keith, let's get your thoughts on this too. Obviously, as you said, Caleb Williams will not be expected to go out there and be C.J. Stroud. But what are the Bears hoping that they get from him in 2024?
Well, let me backtrack on something. Leroy, you had mentioned stat-wise, you're looking for a C.J. Stroud type of stats. Stats are great, but stats don't equate to wins. Stats are stats. They're numbers, and you can skew numbers to fit whatever you want it to fit. That's why I made sure that I started out and led with identity. The biggest problem with the Chicago Bears over the past couple quarterbacks is that we don't have an identity offensively. We've had weapons, but we've never had an identity. The difference between the Chicago Bears and the Texans, whether we have equal or more talent than them, is they have an identity. Okay, they took on the identity of their head coach, who's no nonsense. He's going to get to it, and they did. Same with the Detroit Lions. They have an identity. The Kansas City Chiefs have an identity. We don't know what the identity of this offense is going to be. We have weapons, yes. We know who Shane Waldron is or what he has put together in Seattle, but what was Seattle's identity offensively? So, and I say that not to say that they didn't have success at Seattle, but now that we have the weapons, and you can only imagine what the identity is going to be based off of who they went out and got in the offseason. Okay, so yeah, it seems that they want to be a fast-paced type of offense, get it out. Keenan Allen is known for possessions. He can get free at any time, so he's going to be that guy he's going to be your check down guy, that guy that just gets free. You tell him, I need you to run a eight route and he gets you 8.5 or whatever the case is, he's going to be that guy. You got DJ Moore. You can move DJ and Keenan both into the slot or put them out on the edge. We got to find out what is the identity going to be. With that being said, whether it's Caleb Williams, whether it's Jaden Daniels, which are, and I'm going to use those two gentlemen because those are what basically everybody is saying the consensus 1 and 2, as far as guys that's projected to be drafted at quarterback. Both of those guys have some very unique traits to their game, to the point where there's not a lot of separation between the two. It really depends on what your flavor is when you walk into the store, whether you want vanilla or you want butter pecan, what it really comes down to. So that's why it's important to figure out or try to identify what are the Bears thinking about what their identity is going to be offensively. And does that coincide with wins and losses? Especially considering what we just let go out of the building. Apparently they have to have an idea what that identity is going to be. Otherwise they wouldn't have made the trade and sent Justin out of the building.
Yeah.
So it's just really identifying what is going to be the identity offensively, and then based on whoever they decide to draft and that quarterback skill set, develop a game plan and scheme around that player's strengths. Not try to fit that player into your system, but build around its strengths, which has always been a problem with the Bears as well. Finally, we got some competency on the offensive side of the ball, and I'm just curious to see, and I'm anxious to see them actually develop a quarterback so that we can win games consistently and compete and take over the North, never give it back, and eventually win a Super Bowl.
You know, you bring up good points there, Keith. And I was thinking about this too as the identity part, because I was thinking about all the other teams you mentioned, and I was thinking about the teams in our division and why they've been so successful here. The Green Bay Packers, the Detroit Lions on a consistent basis. And I think we got to put realistic expectations on this too. When we bring in a quarterback, whoever that might be, that this quarterback, we got to get that identity with this new offense and this new offensive coordinator, but there's probably going to be some struggles in there too when it comes to this new, even though we've got the offense, we got the weapons that they went out and did, and they built this kind of around that. I think we got to have some realistic expectations, because I don't think the Packers and the Lions are going to fall off this year. I don't. I think the Lions actually got better in this free agency. I love the moves they made, and both of those teams have a history of putting right players in right positions in the draft. And I don't see any reason why they're not going to do that again this year. So I think, to your point, we got to get that consistency. We've got to get that identity, and then we got to go from there.
Can I also refer back to what Keith said in regards to stats, about stats not necessarily equating to wins? I would 100% agree with you, Keith, because Justin Fields' best football game as a Chicago Bear was against the Denver Broncos last year. He threw for over 300 yards and he threw 4 touchdowns. In the end of the game, however, he had a fumble, which tied. The Denver picked up, scoop and score. They brought it back to the house. That tied the game. And then he threw a pick when he was, I think they were in a 2-minute drive initially to try to take the tie back. He threw an interception, which eventually lost the game for the Bears. So Justin Fields' best game statistically, when it came down to the plays that matter, he wasn't able to make them. So if Caleb Williams isn't throwing 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, but when the game is on the line, he's able to make the play that counts, that wins the football game, I think that would speak a lot for a rookie quarterback coming into a team like this.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. Absolutely. And that's the thing, man. That's what it really comes down to is, can you get it done when you need to get it done? And being a supporter of Justin Fields, I had to come to that realization when I really sat down and thought about why did they decide to make the move. I understood it. I said, okay, I get it. It's a sour pill to swallow, but I can swallow and I can move on because I'm a Bears fan, and I'm going to trust what Ryan Poles is doing. And my main concern is, again, I just need to know what is the identity of the team going to be. But I think I have an idea of what it's going to be. We'll find out come April 25th when they say the Bears are drafting at number 1. who that person's going to be. And right now, it looks like it's going to be Caleb. And I'm here to tell you, I've watched film on Caleb. I've watched him play this entire season, and he's got some amazing traits. So he's definitely, the team is set up for whoever to come in, whether it's him or whether it's Jaden Daniels, to be successful, man. I'm gonna be honest. Now, one thing that I'm not doing, and I get it, he's a rookie and he's gonna stumble along the way. Every rookie does. They hit a wall because they're really playing more games than they ever played in college for one whole season. I still say that the way this team is constructed is, we got to make the playoffs, guys. We have to make the playoffs. I'm not gonna be satisfied with a 6-win season. I'm
Amen,
sorry.
Keith. Yeah.
You know,
Amen to that.
so you went out, you made these moves, you gave up draft capital to put these pieces in place. We have to make the playoffs.
Amen, Keith. There is no other option for this team. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking with the bishop himself, Keith, of the fast-growing Nomad Network, a blockbuster show on YouTube covering everything, the NFL football and Chicago Bears. You are locked in to the voice of the Chicago sports fan, Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse. Be sure to get in that chat room, put your thoughts up there, folks. Thank you for sharing. Also, hit that subscribe button and like us on YouTube. Clint Campbell, along with the great American DJ Matt Cooper, Pinky, the D Phenom, Leroy Pinkston Jr. the third, and then also the big game man himself, Brandon Duplessis. Keith, let's talk about the mystery man in the first round. Now, we all have a good idea where we're going with the number one overall pick. Let's look at that man who the Bears might be calling or might not be calling at number 9. A lot of speculation in the last 48 hours, and I know you and your team have been covering it, about will Ryan keep it, stay at 9? Will he maybe try to draft down to get some of that draft capital back? What's your gut feeling right now with the Bears at 9? Number one, do they stay there? And then number two, Keith, where are they going position wise? And do you have an insider favorite of the young man who they might be calling his name there at 9?
Oh my God, Cleet. Look, we just talked about this today on the show, man, and I'm here to tell you, we were split on the panel, honestly. Um, but this is just me speaking. I can't speak for the guys at Nomad Network and what my panel, and I'm definitely not trying to speak for you guys. I'm going to tell you what I think, because I pay attention to what a person does and what they say. And one thing about Ryan Poles, I give him credit for, is his consistency. And if he's going to be consistent, I don't see him going into this draft just being satisfied with 4 picks. I'm just being honest. I don't see it. And since we're talking about that number 9 pick, the number 9 pick becomes very valuable, to where I can see him addressing a need by trading back and getting a player along with some draft picks for this coming draft. And if he does that, I see him maybe trading back to try to get a D end on somebody else's team, or a receiver. If not, if he doesn't trade back, some of the guys on the panel I know at Nomad Network want to see him possibly take a left tackle. Me personally, I think we're okay at left tackle. And against my better judgment, I would say go with against my better judgment, man. I would say they probably go for a receiver, even though I would like to see them get a D end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly think that we're gonna, if we trade down, we don't go past 15.
No, I wouldn't go past 15. I'm with you on that one, Leroy. I wouldn't go past 15, bro.
Down,
no.
I think if we trade down and go, it'll be no less than 15, and then we'll go out there, we'll go defense. However, if we can't get the value that we're looking for at 9, I think he rolls the dice and takes either Neighbors, Roams, or Doomsday. Honestly, it's a win-win situation.
If he's available, if he's available, I would take him too. Heck yeah.
I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, I think availability will heavily dictate what the Bears do with that 9th pick. They obviously have the Bears have their own pre-draft board. They've got names in a specific order. We don't know what it is. Ryan Poles has done a lot of homework, and I'm sure He's thinking if A, B, C are here or there, we'll take him. If they're not, he's going to try to work some magic, I'm sure.
Keith, as we look back here, over free agency and the trade of Justin Fields, it's funny because right before we jumped on the show, my girlfriend, the Pittsburgh girl, diehard Steeler fan, she was showing me the video.
Too, bro.
Did she show you the video on Twitter of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields back to back, and they're two different videos and them training? And I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, I'm going to be seeing that nonstop here. But I think what surprised me, I'm not surprised Justin Fields got traded. I'm not surprised at all. I think a lot of us saw that coming. But the surprised me was the market for him. I was really surprised at what we got in return from him. And maybe it's because of the quarterback market. This is a crazy quarterback free agency with all these backup quarterbacks. I mean, Gardner Minshew and then Sam Howell getting traded. So a lot of these teams going after those type of quarterbacks. And then there's Justin Fields finally at the end going to the Steelers. Did that surprise you guys? And did you think you would get a little bit more, or did that kind of play out the way you thought it would?
Well, honestly, first and foremost, I went on record to say I didn't think they were going to trade Justin Fields, and I was wrong in that. Basically, for saying that, I honestly thought that he would get at least. I wanted him to get this year to prove that essentially he deserved to be the franchise quarterback. If he didn't, then I was okay with them moving on from him after this coming season. But polls thought otherwise. So with that being said, the draft capital that they got back, I think, and this is just me, I could be wrong. I kind of think Poles might have misjudged a few things early on and overplayed his hand just a bit, and had an opportunity to maybe get some better draft capital for him. But I think at the same time, you got to, again, it's all about words. When he said, "I'm going to do right by Justin Fields," that let everybody know that Justin Fields was for sale. And once that was put out there, anybody that was thinking about offering something high for Justin said, "Oh, so you're going to have to move away from him. So I'm not going to give you my absolute best when you have to move away from him." So that's when that draft capital dropped significantly for Justin. Had he just said, "Justin is our quarterback, we're going to do our evaluations and we'll know exactly what we're going to do before draft day," then that capital, I believe he could have got more for Justin had he said that. But the minute he said, "We're going to do right by Justin," or "I want to do right by Justin," that allowed the door to be open to know that Justin was for sale. And once everybody, all the GMs knew that Justin was going to be available, those that were looking to add a quarterback, there's no way they were going to offer a one or a first round or a second round pick for him. Yeah, they're going to open the door with either a third or a fourth, and then they were going to wait him out like they did.
Yeah, he showed his cards and lost his leverage.
Yeah.
I thought so too.
Yeah, hey fellas, let's welcome to the Madhouse, ladies and gentlemen, the man who stirs the drink for us, our executive producer, the creator of Chicago Sports Podcast, Brandon Trax. Hi, Trax, how you doing, brother?
What's going
Good,
on,
buddy.
Trax?
Welcome, Brad.
Tracks in the house. Tracks in the house.
Ready to drink that drink I just stirred, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah, baby. Pour me one.
Trax, Keith, Brandon, Coop, and Piggy, we've been talking about, the trade of Justin Fields. Obviously Ryan Poles did right. There were, if you listen to reports, there were better offers out there that he turned down to get Justin where he needed to go. Do you think now, and you guys have been talking about it all week, guys, how important for us as Bears fans, fellas, I want to get everyone's thoughts on this. We have to turn the page now. The Justin Fields experiment didn't work out. We wish him the best, all the best in the world to him. But for our psyche now, do we have to turn the page? Because like Keith said, this has got to be a playoff year in 2024. We can't be living in the past, as Coach Dickett would say. I mean, how important it is for the all Bear psyche, for all of us, to move on. It's a new day, a new quarterback, and forget about what went wrong with Justin and focus on what's going to go right with Caleb Williams.
Yeah, Clete, I think it's quite remarkable. I mean, history will show it that the Bears fan base will move on from a quarterback if he throws a bad pass. You know what I mean? And here we are a week later, and for the first time ever, this fan base just can't seem to move forward. And I don't understand. Even if you did, if you showed a lot of love and support for Justin Fields, I get that. He seemed like a really good person, but I try to dictate the person from the player, but get excited and move on. I've never seen that. The fan base is just so stuck. I've got people are posting like Caleb Williams is a bust, and the guy's never played a snap. And I can only believe that just comes from a bias from the fans who had love for Fields. Is to immediately kind of outcast the guy who's supposed to be coming to fill those shoes. And the reality is Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams, Justin Fields is Justin Fields. Caleb's not going to try to be Justin Fields. He's going to be his own man. And that's how he's going to win that locker room over, is just by being him. But I agree with you, Cleet. It is time to move forward. It's time to move forward. I've never read so much about a player that any Chicago sports team traded so much a week after the trade.
Well, easier said than done in some
Yeah.
cases, man. You know what I mean? Easier said than done in some cases. But I would say this, man. I think the hard part for a lot of the fan base and why it's difficult for them to let it go is because I think they feel deceived. I honestly feel like if Ryan Poles had just came out and said, look, to the fan base, we're going to evaluate everything. Right now, Justin's our guy, but we're going to take a look at everything. And truthfully honest, Peter just said nobody's safe. I think they could have digested that.
But he did publicly speak on.
But
He
I
did
know.
publicly
No,
speak on trading Fields.
You're right, but that's the thing, Brandon. It's like, okay, I'm gonna flip it. We're not even gonna put it on. We're not even gonna talk about Justin. The national media did a disservice to Caleb Williams, and I'm gonna say this: as great as he is, and I hope the young man is phenomenal. But when you go as far as to compare somebody to the now Super Bowl champion, yeah, and more importantly, you use words like generational. You have to be careful, and then you have members of the local media that then basically toss the current quarterback out on the street in front of a moving CTA bus before he was even traded.
Yeah.
And basically just made it's like he never even existed, or basically, no matter how badly he might have performed or how well he performed, it was like, so what? It's this new shiny toy. I want it now, mommy. And that's the way they went at it. And because of that, it infuriated the fan base to where it's like they don't. It's some distrust there right now, man. It really is, and it's unfortunate. But we do have to turn the page, and those of us that wanted Justin to stay in the building, he's not here anymore, so we have to move on. And trust me, if it was tough for anybody, it was definitely tough for me because I've been following the young man since he was in high school, and I'm referring to Justin, so yeah, I watched the young man go from an unranked player to becoming a 5-star athlete, and when he went to Georgia, and then when he went on to Ohio State, but he's no longer in the building.
Yeah.
Okay. And we have got to bring in, and we got to usher in the new quarterback with open arms, and we got to get behind this young man, and we got to support him because we want him to win and we want him to be successful. It's just that plain and simple. Yeah. So Chicago fans, if y'all listening to me tonight, hey y'all, it's a sour pill to swallow, but guess what? We eat sour gummy bears sometime, right? We may frown, we may not like it, but guess what? At the end, we'd be like, "Ooh, that was pretty good." So let's embrace it. Change is not always good, but change is necessary. And Ryan Poles felt that this change was necessary, so we're gonna move on, y'all, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna embrace the new quarterback that comes under center, and we're gonna hope that, and we want him to be successful, and we're gonna rally around him so he can be successful. It's just that simple, man.
Facts. I just want to kind of put it into perspective, for the fan base at large that's watching this. Yeah, we like Justin, but let's put this in perspective. In the vacuum. It wasn't like he was Devin Hester impactful with this team. Devin Hester not being re-signed was worse than Justin Fields being traded. So as great as a guy Justin is, let's calm our horses and let's, think about it. Like, what has he really done for us except give us some wild plays? He wasn't giving us wins. You know what I'm saying? As much as I love Justin, the results were not there. Devin Hester gave us those results and he was let go. They let him walk. And he was more impactful to the Chicago Bears than Justin was as far as wins and losses were. If Justin was that kind of impact, then I can understand fans being upset about him being traded. But he did not give us that.
He didn't meet expectations.
Exactly. When it boils down to the wins and losses, he did not give us that. So if he was like Devin Hester, I can understand fans being upset and having the vitriol that they have. But he was nowhere near that impactful for this team. So therefore, because I get it. He was a great locker room guy. But there's other guys. There's 53 guys in that locker room that are great locker room guys. At the end of the day, it's still business. It's a job. So that part's mute. But so right now we have to focus on the new guy that's going to come in and make sure that he is more impactful than the guy that we traded. Plain and simple. That's what it boils down to. Impact.
Okay.
And look, everybody can watch my clips from when my show started. I had the pom-poms cheering on Justin all the way. I wanted him to stay. But like you said, when you have to digest, you have to go back and look at film, you have to self-evaluate stuff. And that's where I start to think, where was his true impact? And his true impact was just in the locker room and with the fan base and how much they love him. But it wasn't on the field. Because
I want to smash.
Hold on, wait a minute, Trax. I got to jump in here on this real quick, Trax. Why this is on my mind, because I let Leroy have the floor and he went in. But Leroy, let's be honest. What did the young man have to work with, bruh? What did he have to work with? First year in, he got thrown into the fire, sacked 9 times, and didn't fold. Did not fold. Had absolutely no plan for him year 1. Year 2, he had replacement players, bro. Majority of the guys that was on that team year one of Pose, when Pose came in as GM, those guys not even in the league now. Where are they?
But Keith,
can we find them? We can't find them.
Can I ask you a question, though?
Go ahead.
It's whoever the blame might fall on, okay? We're going to say Justin Fields wasn't properly developed, right?
He didn't. Right. Whether it was properly developed, he didn't have any weapons, bro.
Right, but does that change the fact that going into year 4, he is still an undeveloped quarterback?
Yes, it does, because they didn't. Yeah, it does, because Getsy.
Right, the damage is done. Right.
Okay.
We're going into year 4.
So it's okay for him to be the whipping board and be the one to have everything develop around him, but then as soon as everything is developed, you kick him out the door.
What I'm saying is I don't disagree that Justin Fields wasn't handled properly. I think he was started too early. I don't think they had a good foundation built around him. I do think that he was underdeveloped. I think he was poorly developed. I think he's an underseasoned veteran, right? But the fact of the matter is you're going into your 4th year and he still is underdeveloped. And it just happened. His 5th-year option just happened to fall in an offseason with a phenomenal draft class.
Out there, bro. No, y'all keep throwing phenomenal.
Draft class.
Last year, they said last year's draft class was phenomenal.
Nowhere near.
They said the year before that was phenomenal.
We have 2 Heisman winners and 5 potential first-round picks.
Every year, bro, they say each draft class is phenomenal, regardless of whether it's quarterback talent or wide receiver talent. I agree. There's a lot of hype
every year.
Or do you also think it's a GM that wants to draft his quarterback at the same time?
That's what it is,
Justin Fields and. They're like, okay, let me go get my guy.
A GM who was ankle deep in drafting Patrick Mahomes. Should we probably trust his process?
He was on the scout team. He didn't have nothing to do with drafting.
Was he director of player personnel?
No.
When he was drafted, he was part player. He was coach. He was player personnel. He had a bigger role in the Patrick Mahomes.
I think he had a really large role in drafting Mahomes.
It's overplayed, bro. It's really
He's only a scout for 2 years, and
I'll tell you what, guys. I'll tell you what. Including this weather right now, and the damn chat we got going on with 133 in the chat asking us to move on and quit living in the fucking past. We have a damn groundhog that I want to choke the shit out of because it's fucking winter right now. And a couple days ago, it was 60 degrees. That freaking groundhog is full of shit. It needs to be choked the hell out.
Hey, Tracks. It's 75 degrees down here where I'm at, baby.
Dude, it's 65
Right
where
now.
I'm at too.
At 9:29 p.m., it's 75 degrees down here. When I finish the show, I'm gonna go sit outside and have me a cocktail and a cigar.
Bro, I'm gonna join you. I'm gonna get the can you got, bro. Let's do it.
Man,
I got the windows open here,
man.
Tracks. The windows are open here, man. Feels good.
30 degrees out here in Wisconsin, bro. 30 degrees, it just got to be in a blizzard, bro.
I had to rub it in, man. I had to
They
rub it
telling
in.
us to move on, man. We got more business
All right,
to talk.
we're moving on, baby. Let's move
Did
on.
you guys talk about Michigan yet? Did you guys talk about the Michigan Pro Day already?
No, we have not done that yet.
Hey, let's do that. Let's unpack that, or whatever Cleet's got on the agenda. I'm sorry, Cleet.
All right, no problem at all, guys. Yeah, folks, this is the only type of passionate debate you can find at Chicago Sports Podcast. Eat your heart out, undisputed. Eat your heart out, first take. I love it, fellas. Let's talk about the Pro Day checks, as alluded to, guys, because there's sleepers out there. Obviously, our good friends at Windy City Gridiron, Bill Zimmerman, says there is a 99% chance the man is going to be Caleb Williams, but like Trex said, there are other guys out there. There's a national championship quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. We all know about all the intangibles you get from guys like Jaden Daniels and Bonix. Keith, from what you're seeing, who is the guy right now that's quarterback 1A? Who is the number? Is there a clear-cut number 2 best quarterback in this draft class right now?
Clear-cut number 2?
Yeah.
In my opinion, yeah, it's or 1A. You want to call him number 2 or 1A? I think
1A, I guess. Yeah.
I think it's Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion,
no, that ain't what I heard from you. I heard Jaden Daniels is number 1 and Caleb is number 2, bro. That's what I've been hearing.
He asked me if look, bro. I'm accepting the appeal that Caleb is going to be that guy that they draft. So, with that being said, is there a clear-cut number 2? It's Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But you say, and I.
If I was the GM,
I understand what you're saying. He's more ready to be an impact player day one. That's what I'm getting the vibe from you.
Yeah,
I
think he is. Yes,
I hope I'm representing you the right way. And
no,
and you know what?
I think he is. Yes, I do think Jaden Daniels is more pro ready based off of the level of competition that he faced, based off of the schemes that he ran both at Arizona State and at LSU. Yeah. I think he is more pro ready. But again, it comes down to what is the scheme going to be for Chicago, and what is the identity of the offense going to be. That would determine what the GM, Mr. Ryan Poles, would decide to do on April 25th in Detroit when they walk to the podium.
Right. Hey, you know what? And I'll tell you what, I don't really have the numbers. Cleet is a good numbers guy, and so is Coop, but I think it's like 6.73 and 6.74. I mean, it's like we're splitting hairs here on how close Jaden Daniel JD is and what do you call it? And Caleb. It's just like you said. Who's your guy? Who you're gonna get? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's the flavor of the moment. What are you tasting? Do you want vanilla or butter pecan? Which one is it? When you walk in, what scent catches your nose when you walk into Baskin Robbins? What?
Yeah,
and that's what you're gonna order when you walk up to the counter. That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I agree with you. Those are the only 2 quarterbacks I can feasibly live with myself if we draft. Honestly, if we draft any other quarterback besides those 2, I might just lose my mind.
I got one for you though, Leroy. I'm gonna ask you about. I'm gonna throw a name at you, and you give me your take on this name. I'm gonna throw at you because this is a name that doesn't get mentioned at all, and I think it should. What do you think about Michael Penix Jr.?
He's honestly too old for me. The age and the fact that it took him till middle of last year and this year to be at the level that he was, I I'm not very
I'm
keen on
hurt,
him.
Leroy. I'm 59 years of age.
Look, I'm
I'm
talking
hurt
about
that you said age, so you're age discriminating now.
well, no, I'm talking about as far as him being in college.
I'm
As far
calling
as
them
his growth
people
in
on you,
college.
man.
His growth in college.
Gonna get the AARP canceling us.
Hey, my bad, man.
Hey,
Hey,
dude,
my bad.
I'm
Hey,
hurt, man.
I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but I'm just if you're asking me.
CSP,
So
bro.
my thing with Penix is that he put up great stats and numbers, but it
He's
was
got a train going through their building right now. What's going on?
I live right by the train tracks, my friend. Sorry about that.
Freight train, man.
Yeah, so
Are you in a caboose right now? Are you
there's,
podcasting?
the difference is like for me is that for me with Penix is that you got the show go off the rails, homie. No pun intended. Yeah, with Penix is I feel it's the age difference, the fact that he had it took him the middle of last year to this year to get to the level that Jaden Daniels and Caleb were already at. And even still, he still couldn't reach, Heisman quality level with the talent that he had around him. So, and I just feel like in my opinion, JJ and Bo Nix are higher on my board than he is because I think Penix benefited from having better talented players around him, a better offensive line, a better offensive system, to deal with. Bo Nix came from Auburn to Oregon, where it's a more complex system, and he just took that team that didn't have as much talent as Oregon normally has, and was still putting up the same numbers as Penix. So, and I take that, and I really follow college more than I follow, like when it comes to college, that's where I'm at. I'm in my wheelhouse there, and Penix just didn't pass the eye test in the Big Ten.
That's a big stat.
He left the Big Ten at the height of its apex with a really talented team, and when the pressure was on, he folded and transferred because he couldn't beat out the other quarterback, who actually has done pretty well with Indiana. And
don't forget, Darren
he-
Hamilton mentioned in the
injury
comments.
too.
Darren Hamilton mentioned in the comments a few minutes ago. He has also suffered 2 torn ACLs and 2 major shoulder injuries.
I did mention
You have
injuries.
to worry about the health.
Yeah,
The health's a
his
concern.
his
I
age
think Penix
it's
has kind of stayed
facts.
stagnant in draft projections because his health is a major concern.
Like, would I like us to take him maybe like if he drops to maybe like mid 3rd round or 4th round? Yeah, I'd like to take a flyer on him, but that's a lot of draft capital to put all your eggs in the basket on a guy who's at that age already older than the quarterback we just traded away and has more injury history than all of the guys combined that's in this draft right now.
Yep.
So it's a red flag for me. He's talented, but too many red flags. I don't want to deal with the injuries.
Yeah, a lot of knowns still out there, gentlemen. We are 34 days away from opening night of the 2024 NFL Draft. It's going to be interesting. There's still some twists and turns, I think, fellas, in the story about where the Bears are going to go.
Really is.
Gentlemen, this has been so much fun. If we could switch gears, because we are, believe it or not, guys, forget it. You won't know it from the snow outside and the bitter Chicago winds. With Major League Baseball, the grand old game returns to the diamond in just 6 days away. Now,
Hang on, Bishop. Hang
all
on.
represented. I tell you what, look at that. I tell you what, that is true representing right there.
Bishop,
You are my hero. The truest Sox fan out there, ladies and gentlemen.
We're winning 100 games, man.
Here we go, 162. Let's go. There are a few certainties in baseball this year. One certainty is Matt Cooper will not be attending a World Series parade come November. And another one tracks is that Shohei Ohtani's not going to be signing any blank checks for his former interpreter this year. So we hope. Let's talk about it really quickly, gentlemen. Both sides of town. Let's start with the Cubs, the case and the chase for a blue October. For Northside fans, this is a season of hope. The Cubs, of course, in the offseason, shocked the baseball world from New York to Tokyo by signing Brewers manager Craig Counsell. They re-signed their ace all-star center fielder Cody Bellinger to a mere $80 million, and they inked promising Japanese ace Shada Imanaga to bolster the rotation. They're going to open up play, fellas, next week with the biggest challenge there is in baseball. The defending world champion Texas Rangers on the road. Right now, the Cubs are a minus 115 favorite to make the playoffs per Bet365 Sportsbook, and USA Today pegs them to win the Central Division of the National League with 84.5 wins. Fellas, let's start off this. And Brandon, let's kick it off with you, my friend. Money question straight out, Brandon. Will the Cubs return to the playoffs in 2024?
I believe they
Yep.
will, and I believe they will with more than 84 wins. I got them between 85 and 90. I am concerned a little bit. They've been hit a little bit by the injury bug already, so that might. I'm going to keep an eye on that over the course of the season. They're missing Tyon, and Killian just went down for the season, so
Steele
they got to
got hit
stay
with a
healthy.
pitch today. Didn't
They
Steele
gotta
get
stay
hit with a
healthy.
ball? Steele got hit with a line drive today.
Yeah,
I believe it was
yeah.
today. And he got taken out of the game.
Health's going to play a factor in the Cubs season. They need all they can get.
Absolutely. Good point, Coop, too. Justin, of course, scheduled to open that game against the Rangers. For you, Pinky, what is the biggest unknown for this Cubs team as we enter the season?
What was that again?
What's the biggest unknown about this Cubs team and roster, in the lineup, particularly, Pinky, entering the year?
I think the biggest unknown will be between the 3 to 7 lineup. Who's going to be settled between their 3 to 7 lineup? Because they got you got your leadoff man, you got the second base. You can flip flop who that is, but between the 3 and 7, they got to figure that out because so far in spring training, it seems like he's experimenting still. And again, because of the injuries too, now he's going to have to retool some things again now as well. But that seems to be the issue. We haven't seen a lot of production from the 3, 4, or 5, in that section of the lineup. So they got it. Something's got to change. We got to shake some things up. Maybe make another, offer up another trade or something. Maybe, for another stronger bat, somebody with some better defense or something. Yeah. But if they fix that, they should be fine. My main concern with them is the bullpen. They the bullpen has to be addressed ASAP.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and I have full faith in Craig Counsell because that is more of his wheelhouse. And
Leroy, save something for me, damn it!
Sorry, buddy.
You hit on my 3 points I wanted to talk about.
I'll stop.
Just talk about the White Sox. Come on.
I'm pretty familiar with Craig Counsell being out here in Wisconsin, so seeing the man up close, knowing that he's a Wisconsin guy through and through at the time, I just know that that's more of his wheelhouse. So I'm not concerned he'll get it together, but I'll let Brandon, talk away the other person. So don't talk away. Keep going because I can keep going.
Fire away, Jack. Fire away, brother.
Go ahead, my friend.
You're going to Sizzlers. I'm going to Denny's, bro. I ain't got nothing left. No, I do think that the whole deal is all about Craig Counsell. I really think if you look at the last 5 years and you look at that squad that they had over in Milwaukee, bunch of no-namers, okay? I mean, they had a couple guys, whatever. That guy freaking Hater that I hated that freaking torched us every time he got up. He's gone now, right? So that's good. Yeah. So, but really that coach, he coached his socks off, and I think that's what's gonna potentially turn our guys into a force multiplier. And you talk to Sean Sierra all the time. He talks about coaching, man, and coaching does matter. That's what's up, man. You get a good coach in the building, and they will follow you to the ends, to the deepest depths of the ocean. And I think that's what we got in the building, and that's why they paid him a cool $40 million. So I don't know if they really did anything that significant after that, but at least we got a coach, so. Well,
and Trex, you bring up a great point, brother. No manager in baseball has won more games in September than Craig Counsell over the last 5 years. Coop, I promise we're going to get to the White Sox here in a second. Brandon, what are your thoughts? Brandon, when I look at this Cubs lineup, Pinky was saying there were some holes. For me, Brandon, the biggest question mark is Michael Busch ready to be a designated hitter? Everyday designated hitter. He got kind of pushed out of the fold from the Dodgers. We got a good deal with him. But my question is, do you feel that Christopher Morel can hit not just for power, but for average for 162 games? And can Busch give you that production, that power, and the RBIs you're going to need from him at that DH spot?
I'll tell you what, and you guys are going to enjoy this, Bears fans, because I got to try to freaking piece this thing together. I kind of look at Christopher Morel as like a slash player, like a Cordell Stewart, somewhere I would actually enjoy to see Justin Fields over in Pittsburgh Steelers, not just play the quarterback, but do some of that exciting stuff that they do over there with the Saints, with that tight end guru guy that does a little bit of everything.
Taysom Hill.
That guy is exciting, dude. And I really think when you put Morel in that situation, he goes in platoons anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, he does great anywhere you send him. I mean, really, let's see him throw a pitch. I don't know.
I know. He's an everyday utility guy, and he's pure joy. I just love watching that young man play baseball. So much fun to watch. Okay, for this next segment, ladies and gentlemen, please hide the women, please hide the children. We are talking about the Chicago White Sox. This is the calm before the likely 162-game storm that won't end, I'm sorry, Matt Cooper, until the final out of the final day of the regular season. Our condolences to you, your family, and all of Sox Nation, which was put through the ringer more than any other fan base in all of pro sports during the offseason. We saw the Sox trade away every viable trade chip on the roster, including and Cease. We saw Jerry Reinsdorf unveil this new West Side Stadium plan that doesn't have any kind of funding plan behind it. We saw 2 women accidentally shot at the park. And we also saw the Sox have the audacity to raise ticket prices 3% after a 101 loss season. So all that being said, Coop, how rough of a season are you in for, my friend?
Are you saying we have a chance?
I'm saying you have a chance, a 50,000 to 1 chance to win the World Series, according to BetMGM. Let's bring a Big A Brandon, Duplessis. Brandon, with everything the Sox have going against them, what would constitute a successful rebuilding season on the South Side this year, Brandon?
It terrifies me to even say it. It really does. Because I love the player, but they're so deep in the hole from the farm system. Like you said, the stadium to the roster itself. Moving Robert might be the only chance they have of ever getting back on their feet, and that sucks. That's a guy you want to build a foundation, or that's a guy you want to build around. But they don't have the materials. They don't even have a hammer. I mean, that team it's a disaster there. It's a disaster. Robert might get you a big return and a lot of pieces in your farm system, and I'd hate to see him go, but they might be forced to. They might be forced to be in that. Honestly, they might be forced in that position.
Well, I think there's a couple of things when you say about Robert. I think realistically, as a Sox fan, we know this is going to be a tough year. It just is. I don't even know I don't know what our manager is going to be like. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have questions about our manager to everything down from that. I kind of like what Chris Getz has done. I'm not going to lie with that. I think he's actually done a pretty good job getting the minor leagues, our farm system back to being relevant again. But I hope that Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada, even our shortstop, Paul DeYoung, I hope these guys just come in and do very well so we can flip them at the deadline. I hope that they can come in and they can perform, because at some point, there's going to be teams that are going to need one of those type of players, and they can get something and continue to build on that minor league. That's kind of what I'm looking at. I don't think they're going to ever trade Robert. I mean, they probably, you're right, Brandon, would get the most for him, but I think they're going to try to make him they're going to try to make him a corner piece for what they have here coming up the next couple of years. So I think as a Sox fan, Mike Soroka is another one, a starting pitcher that they have in for a 1-year deal. I just hope that some of these guys pan out, because if you could flip them and get something in return, that's about what I look forward to for this season. And that's about it.
The thing is that, like, this is like kind of the situation that the Blackhawks were in the year before. The Blackhawks were in the year before we got Connor Bernard.
Good point, Picky.
A lot of people, people are worried about this year, but like, this is like the strip. This year was the strip down year, so this is the year we're going to be playing for the draft capital and potentially wind up having another first round prospect coming to us. Like we did this year with the shortstop, I believe. Yeah. So we drafted the shortstop, who is more than likely probably by the middle of the season going to be playing for us. He's going to be out there playing, getting some experience. So I'm not totally discouraged, because even though the coaching staff, they aren't the big names, they're not the it guy that people want us to probably go after. They're going to slowly build a foundation. They're going to kind of do the Ryan Poles kind of thing. They're going to build a solid base and build everything from scratch. They're going to get a solid team to field out there. Like right now, they're playing very competitive. These like you said, they're a bunch of no-name guys, a lot of guys on one-year contracts who are trying to get big contracts. So I have a feeling this team early on this year is going to overachieve as far as the over-expected win rate going into the season, and then they're going to go back. They're going to fall back to earth, obviously, when once the heat comes on, towards the middle of the season and stuff, when it's time for teams to trade, because those guys were hot for us, they're going to get traded and get their big deals with those teams that are actually going to compete. So I see us more of like a 70-75 win team this year, wildly competitive, but we're nowhere near playoffs. Right. We're going to have like 90-some losses, but I don't see us being a 100-loss team again.
Yeah.
I got to chime in, guys. I know I'm not the biggest baseball guru at all by no stretch of the imagination, but I have a question to ask, especially for for those members on the panel that are Sox fans. And mind you, I'm a Sox fan too, but at this point of the time, I'm going to be very honest, I'm so disappointed in them. That's why I haven't said much at all. But I got a question. I have a question to ask, and you guys help me. Two questions. This is a two-part question. First part: how many years are we going to continue to allow the ownership of this team to just put anything on the field and always try to cast it as a rebuild? First and foremost.
That's a good question.
And secondly, why is it so difficult to actually add some pitching to the team and have a real bona fide bullpen? Can somebody help me with that, please?
Yeah.
Well, I think they tried with Giolito, and that didn't. I mean, he had one good year where he pitched he was great, and then he kind of fell off a little bit after that. And Dylan Cease had that Cy Young type of year, and I thought he kind of struggled last year. I wasn't that upset to see him get traded. So I sometimes wonder if they even brought in some of the right guys on some of these trades that you can question. But that administration's gone now, so I think I would start with that.
But because
they were cheap.
They constantly rebuilding. They keep saying it's a rebuild, or the fans make an excuse and say, "Well, they're gonna rebuild. We're rebuilding." I mean, I think that's bit of the problem with Chicago, with the Chicago sports teams in general is they know that they have such a fan base that no matter what they put on the court or on the field or on the diamond, we're going to fill the stands. We're going to buy a beer. We're going to drink brats, and we're going to be happy, and we're going to leave. We're going to leave merry. But this is the problem, guys. At what point are we?
I'm in. Let's go.
At what?
Where's this at?
But at what point are we going to put our foot down as fans and just say, "Hey, look, we're not tolerating no more, man. Tickets cost. The tickets cost enough, man, to where some folks can't hardly make their rent for buying a ticket. I mean, at some point, when are we just going to come out and say, look, we demand a winner. We're not going to tolerate you to keep just kicking the can down the road. Give us a freaking winner, especially our baseball teams, guys, especially our baseball teams. I'm not going to talk about the Bulls, please. I'm done with them too, and Ryan Poles is at least showing us something that they're trying to do. But at what point, baseball fans, are we going to step up and hold ownership on both sides of town? Yeah. On both sides of town, hold them accountable, man, and just say the Cubs won a World Series, and then it's like, okay, we're fine with that. Now, in another 100 years, we'll do it again. No, that's unacceptable. When you're the third largest market. The third largest market. Come on, guys. And then it's the case for the Cubs. You can't even say that for the simple fact they got fans across the globe, man.
Yeah. Amen, Keith. And this wouldn't play in New York. This wouldn't play in Philly. This wouldn't play in LA. But for some reason, for lack of a better term, that maybe we're just inclined to misery because I mean, you think about Chicago sports fans. I mean, we've had glimpses of greatness, the Bulls in the '90s, the Hawks in the teens, but there's something about Chicago fans. I don't know, Keith, if it's loyalty, but we're willing to put up with mediocrity, and like you said, pay an arm and a leg in your firstborn child for it. Now, to answer your question, if there's a time for a fan base to make a statement, it's White Sox fans this year, because I don't think Jerry Reinsdorf has any inclination to make that team competitive for at least the next 3 years.
Unless you
I
pay
mean,
for his
the
stadium.
audacity of the guy. You won't put a winning team on the field on the diamond, but instead you want to talk about a new stadium. Come on, bro. You putting the
Public
cart before
funding.
the horse, and that's unacceptable, man. No, man.
Yeah.
Common
I mean, the
denominator-
only time you
Stay
got it,
where
like,
you're at and build a freaking team. Once you
Amen.
build a team and it's been consistent year after year, then talk about a new stadium that you want the public to pay for. Come on,
Hey,
man.
Bish.
No.
Hey, Bish, the only time they got a 3/4 way filled is when it's bring your dog to park day and you could go in there for $5 and eat 8 hot dogs and 12 beers each, including your kids. I mean, seriously, that's when they fill it up about 3/4 full.
The thing is, it's like you mentioned it. Like what's the common denominator between the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox?
Gary.
The owner. It's ownership.
Yeah.
The Cubs started winning when they got rid of their ownership.
Yep.
Now, I'm giving this current ownership with the Cubs some leeway because they inherit cap hell. I mean, granted, there's no real salary cap or whatever, but they walked in with, having to spend a lot of money on guys. They inherited a very large, fund of money that they had to filter through to get their guys in that they wanted after getting that ring. So when they bought the team, that team was front loaded with money. Then they have to absorb all this extra money and going over the taxes and stuff, getting the stadium renovated and things like that. So they are just now starting to recover financially to get, to finally go out and do what they want to do. So I'm giving them some leeway with the Cubs because, they're trying to build it right. They got the manager. So things are going to be on the right track for them. They're doing things the right way. The only way things will change with the White Sox is if Reinsdorf gives the damn team to his son like he did with the Blackhawks. He gave over ownership and control to his son, and they started winning. The moment he finally relinquishes that team along with the Bulls, they will start winning. The problem is he doesn't want to give up control because he knows that his other kids want to. They want one of the sons want to take the White Sox and rebrand it. He wants to spend a lot of money, and that's what he wants. The dad doesn't want him to do that, so he wants to go this route. He wants to be cheap about it and swindle everyone. The son wants to actually invest and put money, spend money, and that's something the dad don't want to do yet.
Hey, sorry, Leroy. Lowry Markkinen. Sorry, a commenter asked us a question about a player traded from the Bulls.
Lowry Markkinen, yeah.
Markkinen is the name.
Yeah.
My wife was actually a sales manager. She was a store manager at Neiman Marcus, or I call it needless markup. She gets mad back to me. So he had some fancy Italian underwear that was like $50 a piece. And the people that come through there, they like give her stuff like cologne, underwear, all this, and she gives it to me. And then Laurie signs it, and I'm like, how in the heck am I going to explain this to the guys at work that Laurie Markkinen signs my underwear? What's going on, So just a little Laurie Markkinen story,
Yeah.
That's awesome, though. We got 200 in the chat.
200 in the chat.
Thanks, guys.
All-time record, ladies and gentlemen. We
You guys see
thank
that?
each and every one of
Sneak.
you for making this a record-setting night for Chicago Sports Podcast, the voice of the Chicago sports fans. Fellas, this has been a dream. Great getting to see you all again. Keith, I tell you what, bringing the Nomad Army, you can follow this man, ladies and gentlemen, giving you everything day to day, what you need to know as you prepare for the draft coming up here in 34 days. He's Keith from the Nomad Network, your ultimate destination for all things NFL football and Chicago Bears. 1.6 thousand subscribers and counting by the minute. You can also follow Nomad Sports and Nomad Nomad Network on the X. Be sure to follow them as well there. Fellas, this has been great. Really quickly, March Madness, how's everybody's pool sheets doing? And is everyone across the board thinking the UConn Huskies are going to repeat?
I say screw you, Auburn.
Yeah. Oh, man. Don't get me started on bad boy Bruce and Auburn, Coop. they
got Illinois winning it all.
Yeah.
Illinois looks
Big
good.
Ten, baby.
Yeah.
Big Ten.
Illinois looks good.
Exactly. They look solid. How far, before we let you go, fellas, how far can the Illini fly?
They're winning it all, baby.
I think
I just told you.
I think they can go pretty far. They look
I
good.
think Final Four. I do.
They're gonna win it all. I got them in
I
Tennessee.
think Underwood.
for the national
That
championship.
team plays defense. They play defense.
Yeah, they're pretty solid. You know, them and Iowa State, I think, are two. I don't want to call them sleeper teams, Brandon, because they're the second and third seeds. But both of those teams, if anyone can get out there, I think they can. Keith, your thoughts on March Madness? Who you got winning it all?
Yeah, Northwestern, baby.
You know, man,
Yeah.
honestly, I'm actually more in tune with the women than the guys this year, honestly.
I got South Carolina.
But I do like Illinois. I do like Illinois. I think they got a really good chance as long as they stay within their character. You know, don't try and just stay disciplined, play defense, you know, and don't get and share the ball. If they share the ball, play defense, I think they can go a long way. I really do.
I love the
You know.
coach. Head coach.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my boy. That's the dude right there.
And,
Get
and,
this.
and far as the women's, man, I'm you know, there's a tough bracket, man, with Iowa and LSU in that bracket, and then you got South Carolina, man, who that I actually, you know, my two favorite teams is South Carolina and LSU. So,
That's what
either one of those, I'll be happy with, you know. But I'm not sleeping on Caitlin Clark either. I'm not gonna sleep on Iowa. I think they're on a mission. I think they're on a mission, bro.
Yeah.
It may be, but I still say LSU beats them by a small margin.
Yeah, I think so
They win
too.
by 1 to 2 points game. So
And it'll really be come down to size. I think that's where LSU has the advantage size wise.
in the paint.
But the problem with LSU, they haven't been healthy all season.
No, they haven't.
And Rice took them to task today. And
They did.
they actually won today.
Keith.
And they had 24 turnovers, bro. I mean, that was unprecedented for them. So they got to clean some things up. They gotta get back to playing basketball and stop. You know, get off of social media and focus. You know, you're the champions, and you got to understand everybody's gonna give you their best game. So you can't sleep on anything right now, and they're gonna have to buckle down.
Real quick, breaking news, gentlemen. I know this is football related. I know we were just talking sports, but the Chiefs just finalized a deal to trade Ladarius Sneed to the Tennessee Titans.
Brandon just broke that.
Wow.
Brandon just broke that.
You just did. Okay. Yeah, it's been official. It's official. Sorry, my friend.
It's all good.
Fuck with attention of you, Jack.
Okay.
You heard it
All
here.
right.
2 ears, 1 mouth.
All right. Tennessee. Okay.
Even the champs
Interesting.
have the
They're
Catholic.
low nuts.
Interesting.
They're ready to try to do something.
Friends, Chicago Sports Podcast is brought to you by Bridges Scoreboard, Underdog Fantasy, TC's World of Wonders, Serendipity Ice Cream Parlor, The Worst Stadium Club, and Budget Jet Cars. Please patronize our great sponsors who keep the voice of the Chicago sports fan growing each and every week. It has been my pleasure to be with y'all, gentlemen. That is the Bishop himself, Keith, from the Nomad Network, the great Leroy Pinky the Phenom Pinkston III, the great American DJ Brandon, Matt Cooper, ladies and gentlemen, of the Nashville Wolf. Big game Brandon Duplessis, bringing an all-star performance today, as always, and the hitman himself, Brandon Trax Hyatt. He is our version of LA Knight, ladies and gentlemen, the coolest guy in the world. Fellas, it's been an honor and privilege. Thanks so much for the time, guys.
Thank you.
See you later,
Thank you.
Keith.
All right,
Hey,
guys.
cool.
Bear down,
All right, guys.
baby.
Nice
Bear
to-
down, everybody. Bear down.
Hold on. I'm gonna keep the light on. Cleet's got to go. He's just saying goodbye.
Yeah, I'm just saying goodbye to all you fellas. You guys be
I gotta go too, my friend.
tonight. Great seeing you fellas. Thank you so much, everyone. Well, you see you next time.
Yep.
I'll tell
See
you what,
guys.
when I'm in the gates between heaven and hell, I want Cleet by my side because he gives you an awesome entry, dude. Like God, listen to Cleet, man. So this is all I do, bro. This is my rap sheet.
Hey, I'll be your shotgun rider, Trax. Hey, take care, fellas. Great talking with you, fellas. Great chat.
All right,
Thanks so
Cleet, take
much.
care, buddy.
Cleet.
You bet,
All
guys.
righty.
We'll see you, fellas. Thank you.
See you guys. You guys have a great show. Thank you to all in the chat. Love, peace, love, and good vibes, everybody. Please like and subscribe. And as always, like I say, Chi-Town up, bear down. Let's go. I'll let you guys later. Have a great show, guys.
Have a good night.
Later,
Piggy.
Piggy. Yeah, so back to some of the chat questions we had in here. They were talking about, are you guys at all concerned with the fact that we have a lot of people to sign? And to me personally, now knowing Bish that we have like 138 mil to burn next year, I think a lot of that is going to have to be, we got the infrastructure, we got the core pieces. Now it's time to do our due diligence and sign those guys. One guy mentioned that potentially we won't re-sign DJ Moore because he doesn't like what's going on, whatever. And he said, you got to be a professional, and he's moving on potentially from Fields, and that's just how he feels, whatever. I think if you take the feelings out of the equation and we're moving up, and he was at Carolina and he showed up Chicago when he was only the only, player in town, but now we're building. I think we still do get to keep him. And potentially, if we have Keenan Allen for another, I think Brandon hit on it, the nail on the head last night or the night before, we potentially sign him for 1 to 2 more years, but still try to get that rookie. But how do you guys feel about all this juggling and stuff and what we potentially have looking down the road with signing those guys, Bish? What do you think right there?
Well, I think honestly, man, it's really going to come down to what type of season we have. I think, wins cure all woes, man.
I love
Bottom
that.
line, wins cure all woes, man. I mean, I understand, DJ being, in his feelings right now. But again, I think if he has another record-setting year from a new quarterback, and Keenan Allen does and has a phenomenal season as well, over 1,000 yards receiving. If you get Cole Kmet anywhere from 700 to 800 yards receiving, and if whoever else we add into the mix, and along with our running game, and we can make the playoffs, I think anything is possible, honestly. With regard to re-signing some guys, or more importantly, if those guys choose to move on, then it's the NFL, man. Not long, hey, what does it stand for? NFL, baby. So you just think about it and just know this. With wins, I think they're going to retain a lot of guys. And that's including DJ Moore. I really do. Because guys, think like, man, how many times do you want to keep moving around? And the grass is not always greener on the other side.
No.
So whether it's not what they say, not long forever, however it goes for NFL.
Not for long.
Not for long. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Matt. But to answer your question, Trax, I think that they got a real good chance of being able to retain a lot of the guys, man, because I think once they get on the field and once they have an opportunity to taste, some success and get into the playoffs, you're going to want to run that back and repeat that, man. And especially depending on how deep they go. If they can get, I would like to, first of all, I would like to see them compete to win the division and not be a wild card team.
Bro.
But you know what I'm saying? Look, bro. And I saw him in the chat earlier. Look, we know one thing for sure about Detroit. Detroit's going to Detroit at some point in time.
Yes.
At some point in time. So with that being said, if they decide to Detroit, then we just have to contend with Green Bay. And I think with the pieces that they have put in place, and if we have a very balanced attack until that rookie really settles in, say week 8, week 9, and if we're above 500 and we contending to win the North, I think we can retain some guys, man. Honestly, that's my opinion.
What about you, Coop? How do you feel about it, bro?
I think it's going to be an interesting year. I really do, because I think it's all going to be based around the quarterback. And we think it's going to be Caleb Williams. Let's just say it's going to be Caleb Williams, because I think a lot of us think that's going to happen. So what type of team are we going to have? And to Keith's point earlier, and we're talking about to Erik Kramer earlier as well, when he was talking about how they built the team with the pieces on offense, and now they can put that quarterback in place. Well, if they go out and have, I don't know, 6-7 wins, do they have Keenan Allen come back for another year? Does Keenan Allen stay healthy? I don't know the answers to that question. When he's healthy, that dude's a stud, man. He's so freaking good. But but do they want to go younger? Do they go into the draft and get a younger wide receiver? Do they go into the draft and start building in some of those positions a little bit younger? I just don't know the answer to that right now. I think it all predicates on the quarterback position.
Yeah, and you know what? I agree. Real quick before I hand it over to Brandon and ask what he feels about this, I want to piggyback off of what you just said. I totally agree 100%. It all is predicated off of the play of the quarterback and keeping healthy. I will say that the repetition should be far less going to Keenan now that DJ's over there, and you got Swole Komet and potentially another wide receiver coming in, and you got the running back Swift coming out of the backfield and all that. I really like all the pieces in play, so you can potentially use him for big time targets, keep him, he's still going to play big, right? He's still going to have lots of reps, but not nearly as many as he did with the Chargers, because you got to remember, Mike Williams was often injured and they relied heavily on Keenan, and I think that's a lot of where that came. You look at Keenan, he's not really a big body player. Like DJ is not really super tall, but he's thick, he got some muscle on him, you know what I'm saying? So I think that helps DJ out tremendously, but I think spreading the wealth and all that's going to help, rotate the tires on Keenan. I think he's in a good place with us. I think he found a good landing spot and he likes what he sees. And I think, like everything you said, Coop, I mentioned yesterday, it's all about keeping guys healthy. There's a lot of stuff that has to work out. But at the end of the day, like Bish said, hey, it's playoff or bust, baby. I mean, really, the expectations are that high because people see what we're doing. And they're like, no other quarterback in the history of ever has walked into this situation where when you go into a situation, sorry, Brandon, I'm going to cut it off. I'm freaking rolling. But when you walk into a situation like this and you got two number one wide receivers, a bona fide top tight end and Cole Komet, a top 5 defense, and that offensive line, the infrastructure, faster than the word of God, you go look at Ian Cunningham, who was a NFL offensive lineman, and so was Poles. They're not done yet. They're not done yet with that offensive line. And don't think for a minute that it does not eat them up, because that was their first love. That was their craft before they got into these suits. You know what I'm saying? So they're not done yet. And it is playoff or bust, and there's a lot involved. There's a lot moving pieces, but I really feel good about the guys that we got in the building, and I think they're smart. I think they're playing money ball as best to the way they can, but I would lose all of my money if Ryan was sitting right next to me like Bish is, and he had his cards, man. I tell you what, my wife would be like, how much money you lose to Pulse? How much money you lose to Pulse tonight? So the guy is just amazing. I can't figure him out. I don't know if he's going to zig or zag. Like, I really, like, you start looking at him, you looked at who was the Jerry Angelo? He always traded back. You knew he was going to trade back, but you look at him right now, and I don't think that to this year, I don't think he's going to show that tendency. I don't think he wants to show us that he's a one-trick pony. I think that he's going to stand his conviction, and whoever he goes and gets is who he goes and gets. So I'm really interested, Bish, into seeing what he does this year in this draft, because this is a new season for him, and I'm still amazed at this man. Like, he is a very interesting man. So, Brandon, to follow that up, bro, what do you see is going on? Are you concerned? Are you excited about the chances of re-signing these guys? How do you feel?
Yeah, well, I think one of the benefits of resetting the quarterback clock is it gives you the ability to retain talent. I think DJ Moore's still a young player. I believe he's 25. He's extreme, obviously very productive player. I think him and Caleb will find rhythm almost immediately, and I do think Poles gets that deal done. I think it's going to be a big deal. I think it's going to cost us a lot, but I do think, you know, the, the point, like we saw with Jalen Johnson, he was almost on the trade, but I requested a trade. You saw with Roquan Smith, winning teams retain winning players. They retain talent. So I do think that deal gets done with DJ Moore. I do think he's extended. I do think he stays a Bear. When it comes to Keenan Allen, I know he was offered a contract extension that he turned down from from Los Angeles. Sorry. I think it comes down to what is Caleb or what is Keenan want? Keenan's coming. I think Keenan's at a point in his career where he probably has one more contract in him. But I also think that if Poles were to, develop a winning culture next season, how much does he want to win? If the Bears have a winning season next year and Keenan Allen wants to win a Super Bowl, I think you got to stick with what you got. You know what I mean? I don't like how many more times can he bounce from A to B and still have the opportunity to finish his career with the ring or holding a Lombardi trophy. But I do think the best chance the Bears have at retaining Keenan Allen is a restructure deal and just having him here for one more year. I think that's the Bears would try to work something
Oh,
like that
okay.
out before
Okay.
giving him a contract extension or before giving him a brand new deal.
Okay. You agree with that, Bish? You think that's a potential great way of looking at that?
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way, but Brandon makes, hit on some real key points, and I actually like that, Brandon. I really do.
I do too,
Thanks.
man.
It's possible. Yeah.
Guy's very
and
cerebral,
that
man.
is
I
the
like
thing,
this
but
breakdown.
yeah, and actually the fact of resetting that, the clock with the new quarterback does give him some flexibility. But this is the thing that I like most about Poles, man, is that he has decided to make his mark, man, and it's this season. You know what I mean? And I think this guy is getting ready to put the NFL on notice,
Let's go.
and we got to just strap up and get ready, you know. But I think that number 9 pick is going to pay some great dividends for this team, and I'm real curious to see what he does with it. I think that's the pick that's going to kind of tip the scale for the Bears. You know,
How
now
so? In which way? What do you think is going to happen potentially? Or could it go several different ways?
it can go several different ways.
Yeah.
I can see him. I see him trading that pick back,
Okay.
and I can see him addressing. I can see him maybe addressing because I still think we need a defensive end.
Yeah.
I think I think the draft is deep enough in receivers that whether we take a receiver in the first round or we get some extra picks and take one later on in the draft, I think we'll be okay. My biggest concern is getting a DN, and I'm not really concerned with the DN on the right on the left side as much as I am concerned with getting a backup for Sweat. In the event, Sweat's been very durable and healthy, but I live in the what ifs, man, when it comes to the NFL.
Sure.
And with him, if he goes down, man, what do we have to back him up?
Yes.
Yeah, and I gotta agree with you, Bishop. I think a wide receiver, even at the ninth pick, if you have Neighbors or Dunze Faldia, a wide receiver at this point is more of a luxury for the Bears, considering they signed 2 number ones. A defensive end and edge rusher is a position of need.
There's also
Absolutely.
26 receivers in this draft too.
Right.
So I mean, if those guys, and I think those guys are going to be gone. I think they're going to be gone in the first. I think they're going to be gone in the first 7 picks.
Yeah,
You
edge
think?
is a greater need.
Yeah. So I think if you can go find a receiver in the second or third round, like a lot of good teams usually do, if you think you can do it that way, then I think an edge rusher too. To what you're saying, Keith, to a little bit more depth as well that we'll need on our defense.
Yeah, I agree
I
with
think that's the
Bish.
key. Yeah, I think that's the key for us, man. I mean, I know everybody's been saying we need an X receiver, and I get that, but as much as we need an X receiver, man, I'm more concerned with making sure that, man, we got that DN solidified, man. I feel strongly in Dexter and Dexter on that as D tackle at that 3 tech. I think we're okay. Along the defensive line, and I'm really excited about having Eric Washington as the D coordinator because
Yes.
after watching what he was able to create over there in Buffalo, man, I mean, with the guys that we have, and the different stunts and the different things that he likes to do with that D line, I'm excited to see that, and knowing that he also used to be a DB coach, so him and and Hulk getting together and being able to really put some things together scheme wise, I think it's going to be really exotic and exciting. But I'm more concerned with that depth at the defensive end side, especially behind Montez Sweat. That's my concern.
Do you think that there's potentially a pickup in Buffalo? Have you guys been paying attention to see? I know they had to offload a bunch of people. Are they done yet? Could you guys see potentially where Washington would be like, yo, there's that dude. He would be a good role player coming in on defensive end or something like that. Would you be good with that? Or are you saying we got to go out and get somebody, from the draft?
Well, it looks to me Buffalo re-signed some of their players that they wanted to keep, though. I feel like they've restructured contracts on their defense of the players that did want to leave, and then they kind of the salary dump that they've done. I mean, their safety. I mean, some of the players they got rid of. Now the center they got rid of, I liked Mitch Morse. I think he's a very good player, but I think the two safeties that they released, I think are starting to get up there a little bit and are starting to diminish. But they could still be very good players. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I think we heard a lot about the Bears potentially drafting a wide receiver with that 9th spot, and they traded a 4th round pick. They traded draft capital. They've already used draft capital theoretically on a wide receiver, and we didn't really see anything in regards to edge during the free agency. I mean, you heard they might meet with him, but I don't know how real did those talks ever get? It seemed like every player was like, I'm going to meet with this team, this team, this team, and then the Bears. So I don't know how seriously Poles actually went after any of these guys. It seems to me the way they approached the two positions in free agency and in the offseason in general would imply that Poles probably has something in mind regarding the edge position in the draft. I would assume.
And to Brandon's point, I agree with him, man, because I honestly thought that that they would have, if they was going to make a move far as DN, which they did. They added some depth on the on the defensive line at the DN position. There's only one name that out there that I think is even worth entertaining at this point is Jadeveon Clowney.
I like that. I like that. 9.5 sacks. Yep.
A guy, because when I'm not looking for a guy to come in and give me 17 sacks, man. I need a guy to be steady, can hold the edge, and put pressure on the quarterback.
Phenomenal run defender too.
Yeah, so if there's a name out there that if it was me, I would at least shake the tree and see what's available there with Jadeveon. It would be him. But other than that, if he doesn't go after him and sign him, then he must have something in mind or someone in mind that he think he can get in the draft. And again, I think he feel he can get them in the draft and don't have to get it at 9. He can trade back no lower than 15 and get that guy then. But
what about Sewell? He's already on our team. They had talks about him maybe stepping up in that fashion. I didn't really get to see a whole lot of him last year. I'm asking you, Bish. You know me, I'm always looking at the big sexies on the offensive line. I'm looking at all that. But on the other side of the ball, where he was at, where Sewell was at, is that a possibility? Or what about that guy? What about that guy that they brought in? And he was like a first-time defensive end, and he's kind of like somebody that they were kind of like checking out. He was kind of like fast, built like Anderson.
Dominic Robinson?
Yes. So is that a possibility where now that we've got a guy like Sweat that could work with him, and he could work with Dexter, that he might work out being that guy that you want, or no?
It's funny you say that, Trax, because we talked about this the other day on our show, and a lot of guys are down on Dominic Robinson at this point, But again, I look at it like this too, bro. Again, Eric Washington, what he's done in the past and what I've seen him get out of his defensive line at Buffalo, I don't put nothing past him, bro. Honestly, because this guy, he likes to blitz. He's way more. Let me put it. He's way more aggressive than Flus is, and that's why not. If I have any concern, it's with Flus still doing the play calling. That's my concern, because I would be a lot more comfortable Flus being a head coach and let Eric Washington call the plays on the defense.
Okay.
You know, because and I say that because of what I've seen him do at Buffalo. You know,
Yeah.
and what he was able to get out of those guys at Buffalo. So with regard to Sewell, you know, it's intriguing, but I was on board for Dominic Robinson in terms of just he's a raw talent, man. And I think with the right development, if he put in the work, get in the weight room, put on a little more weight, and
Yeah.
actually work on his hand technique, work on his footwork. I
Yeah.
thought the kid was athletic enough to where he could surprise some people. So I think it'd be telling to see what they see in him in the OTAs and in
Yeah.
training camp. If they let's put it like this, he's not on the street right now. So that tells me a little something that maybe they, through their evaluations just on film alone, they think that they have something to work with. So, and the fact that they haven't we don't know what they're going to do. I tell you this: if they don't take an edge in that first round, then that means he's in play.
Okay. You know, and by all rights, I totally agree with what you're saying. My only concern for the pause in that is people said potentially the old regime and currently right now the in between, right? We loaded up on one side of the ball and neglected the other and stunted the quarterback's play because he didn't have protection, he didn't have weapons. The first thing that we hear from a lot of people, not just you, Bish, because as a Chicago Bear fan, we are defensive first, right? We always think about defense.
Yeah.
So the first thing we think about is an edge rusher, which is great. Signing re-signing JJ's contract. But make no mistake about it, that all offensive line ain't gonna fix itself. And you go look at the 85 Bears and you go look at Jimbo Covert, you go look at Keith Van Horn, you go look at the center, Jay Hilgenberg. Those three guys were the mainstays of that offensive line. And hey, Walter's going to be Walter, but you saw what Barry had to do in order to get through. My grandpa was a diehard Detroit Lions fan, and he said, bro, at one point, the Michigan Wolverines outweighed their offensive line. So, you know, Barry had to work his tail off to get those yards. But Walter, he was in love. I talked to Walter's brother, his older brother down in Mississippi, and he was in love with his offensive line. He used to take care of them and stuff, and they just love their offensive line, Bish. And I want to get that too. You know, I'm an offensive line, so I'm obviously speaking from, from partiality, but I think it's important not just for the quarterback, but so we can run the ball. And right now we have a deficiency in running because we have to make up for the off schedule and on schedule, or mostly off schedule, 600-700 yards of Justin Fields running. You know what I'm saying? So we have to make up for that deficit. And I think the best way to do that, Bish, is by going out and get a verifiable offensive lineman. If we can do that and get we only got three
other. Did that though. I think they addressed the offensive line. I think they feel very good at what they did in terms of adding to the offensive line. Don't you?
I do.
Adding Matt Pryor. That's a good pickup, bro. And adding Shelton. Shelton.
I like Shelton.
That's a good pickup, man. I
don't know a lot about Shelton. I know he took every snap for Stafford, whatever. I kind of like that, Brandon. I don't know. Honest to God, I don't know a lot about these guys. Most people don't. If you're not a top 10 offensive lineman in the NFL, who does, right?
No, but Shelton was very steady with the Rams, man. And he started 17 games for them, bro. And he's a solid center, man. He really is, And the thing is, he's familiar with Waldron's scheme because he was with the Rams when Waldron was offensive coordinator there.
Yeah.
So he's familiar with the scheme. I think he's gonna adding him alone solidifies the hiccup that we had, as far as on that offensive line and having a steady center. I think that. I don't feel that I know they're going to probably address it in the draft if they get a chance to, and then adding Jake Kieran, that was a good addition too, bro. I mean, I think they feel that they made the strides to add to that offensive line to make sure that it's steady and solid. I know a couple guys on our panel they have their concerns regarding Braxton. I think you've mentioned it also that you feel you have some concerns about Braxton as well.
I do
You
because I
know,
played left tackle, not at his level, but I feel like he's a little light in the loafers. He needs a bigger ass. And I don't really see him get down and square his hips right, and then just anchor down. That's one of Nomad's. We
Dustin,
really did.
Dustin put in the comments, Shelton allowed 34 QB pressures, tied for most in the league.
Ooh.
34
Okay.
QB hurries, tied for
Well,
most in the league.
if that's an actual stat, that's a little concerning. I don't know
I
if
think,
they.
like, when I know he doesn't have any issues snapping the ball. I know that. I know the Bears. I mean, let's be honest.
That's great.
Could it get any worse
That's
than
a
where we
big
were?
improvement, Brandon.
I mean, you
That's
know
a
what
big
I mean.
improvement.
I could have
say
just.
it again, Brandon. Say it again.
What did Stephen A. Smith call Judy? A jag? Just a guy? I think that's what we had playing center for us for the last 2 years. Quite honestly,
Yeah.
was it just a jag? I'll say.
Yeah.
But I don't think it could get any worse. I agree with Bishop. They might still be looking to address that position in the draft. I don't know if they'll treat it with a very high draft pick, but I think you're right. He added a couple of pieces. He's got a lot of depth. I mean, let's be honest. The Bears used, I think they used like 6 different combinations of offensive linemen. The most important part is we at least have guys there when we suffer injuries. And I know, Brandon, you've alluded to this a lot. I love Tevin Jenkins. I think he could be an all-pro guard, but he just hasn't been able to stay on the field.
Well, and
It's
here's
really
something
unfortunate.
I want to share with you, Brandon, and I'm starting to get comfortability. Help me out, guys. I'm gonna murder this word. Yeah, comfortability or something like that. Almost like a
Comfortability.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. I got a twist tonguer there. I'm starting to get comfortable with you because the repetitions lead to retention as an offensive lineman. Just because that same 5 is there doesn't mean that you get a different vibe if Bish slid from left guard over to right guard. Whoa. Bish is right there. Bish has got my 6. He knows my weaknesses. He knows my strengths. I know his tendencies. Oh man, this is messing me up. This ain't no good. I got to go against Ray Lewis today. I'm aging myself, but you guys understand what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, the Bears.
It changes stuff. You have to keep your guy at the 5, at the 3, at the 1, at the 2, at the 4, at the 6. All those spots, they need to stay there, man. They're a team within a team, a unit. And I agree with what you're saying. It's good, whatever, but keep Stankin Jenkins at the left guard.
I love Jenkins. He's just got a lot of health concerns. Yeah,
Yes,
I think you're right, Brandon. I mean, the Bears constantly preach culture through continuity. And they've never had continuity since in Poles' tenure. They've never had continuity in that position. And honestly, what surprises me most about the Bears is Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham are both former offensive linemen. And, he's found some talent in the draft in Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones. But the one thing Poles just hasn't really hit on, man, is free agent signings at the offensive line position, whether it be guard or tackle or center. I mean, we saw, Nate Davis, it's still the verdict's still kind of out. I think I wasn't impressed.
With Nate Davis, man. I think I'm giving Nate Davis a pass, man, because the guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's there, so no matter what,
he watched his mom die, bro. I mean, I'm blessed to still have my mom. But I know I have friends who have lost their moms, man, and that's tough. That's real tough on somebody, man. So, I'm gonna give him a pass and think that he's gonna come back, and be the guy that they wanted him to be at that position, and something that nobody's, and I love Braxton Jones for this, man. He suffered with a neck injury the entire season and didn't say a word. Yeah,
I mean, he's been very serviceable.
He had a neck injury, bro.
Yeah, but think about these names in free agency: you've Schofield, Reif, Patrick, Sweeney, Leatherwood. I mean, Ryan Poles has missed on a lot.
That's why he didn't want to get down and anchor because
he's missed. He's missed on
I had a shoulder injury and I didn't want to get down, and I was getting blown off my blocks when they were coming in on that side. With this side, I was good. When they were coming around on the 5 and the 7, I was good over here. But when they came over here, I had to slide over a little bit. I was talking to my left guard. I was like, "Hey, dude, I got all right, okay, big boy, we got you, And that's I'm telling you right now, Braxton, he gets that neck fixed. We might see a different player, man. He
And
might
I'm
be
telling you,
getting
man,
down.
that's what, and that came out, and honestly, that came out
I didn't know that.
actually during the last game of the season. Actually,
I didn't know that, Brandon.
it actually came
Yeah,
out.
I
That
think the
he had a
Bears
neck
kind
injury.
of kept it quiet. Yeah,
They kept it quiet, bro. They kept it
which is
quiet. Yeah.
surprising because and the NFL mandates that nowadays. You don't
Yes.
just hide. Like, the team physician has to be able to clear a player, and I don't know how well Braxton was doing.
Close to Judah, I want to say something really quick. This guy has been coming on recently, and I really I love you coming in here, bro. But I want to make something clear to everybody listening. We are not a hater platform. I still respect Justin Fields. He was a warrior. He came in, he did what he did. If Caleb didn't play for my USC, I wouldn't be going ham on him as much as I am. I probably would be looking at JD next and potentially maybe like a big haul Bo Nix or something. I get all of it. But what I'm saying is, man, when you talk about you got a video showing that the old lineman couldn't stand Justin Fields, I loved every quarterback that I ever blocked for. It is in our DNA. You can't run away from your DNA, bro. You love blocking for your freaking quarterback. You don't care who it is. Now, it's a little exhausting when your quarterback is a dual threat and he can make plays and he puts the whole team on his back. I get that because now I'm blocking. You're taught to block from whistle to whistle, and that gets exhausting for us big uglies that we don't like running. Okay, so I get that part, the frustration, but that doesn't mean that they don't like or love that guy that went and played. Okay, so let's try not to do a smear campaign in here, man. But like I said,
I think the one thing nobody could ever question about Justin Fields was his
work
character,
ethic.
his
It's work
likability,
ethic. Yeah.
the respect he had of his teammates.
Yeah.
I mean, I have not heard a single report in the 3 years Justin Fields or even in his time at Ohio State, not
Yeah.
a single report questioning his character or his leadership or his likability or his just respect he had from the players in the locker room and outside.
I just had to get that off my shoulders because as a teammate,
Thank you, Trax. I appreciate
an
it. 'Cause I
offensive
was going to say
lineman-
something too, but it's not my platform to say anything. So
yeah, and like I said, I really appreciate this guy coming in here, but let's try to keep it clean. You know what I mean? That's one thing we want to do. So, anyways, I'm sorry, guys. What were we talking about? I
was referring to the free agent offensive lineman signings that Poles made this season. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with any of these players. My only concern is it feels very similar to what Poles has done the last 2 years. Bargain signings at these positions. When we call them depth, I thought Lucas Patrick might be depth when he was signed, but the reality is, I think sometimes he's signing these players to fill a void for a season, and I don't know that. Maybe you're right, Bishop. Maybe Coleman Shelton. Maybe that's their answer. Maybe that's the solution. Maybe they're not going to draft somebody at that center position. But I don't think he's got a very good track record up to this point, Ryan Poles, in getting these veteran offensive linemen.
well, it's funny you say that, Brandon, because I would say this. I'm not so sure that he won't draft somebody for the offensive line. Again, that's why I say that number 9 pick is going to be huge. But again, I'm gonna say this. I still won't. I'm gonna say it here tonight, and people can be mad at me if they want to. I'm not 100% sold with the number 1 spot. That is a consensus just yet. I'm just gonna put it out there. We still haven't heard anything about medicals or anything like that regarding Mr. Williams. Ryan Poles has always been about getting as much draft capital as he can to do what he needs to do, and he's making moves this season. He's used draft capital on wide receiver. That's why he went out and got Keenan. So if there's 2 areas that he's going to probably focus on, I can see it being O line and D line, and then after that, anything it's free game on it's fair game on everything else. Me personally, I thought with the moves that he made before he traded Justin away, I thought with the moves that he had made in free agency that he was going to possibly trade back and then really go after addressing the offensive line and getting that D in. That's what I thought. I don't know
Okay.
now because again we only got 4 picks left right now, and we'll be down to 3 if we definitely do make the move with the number 1 pick and grab a QB. So
So are you
it's
saying you're
kind of touch and go.
you're suggesting they just move a couple of spots back and take a different QB?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's there's QBs in this draft that, like I said, there's not a lot of separation. You know, we can be wild by arm angles, throwing angles, and certain things. Everybody's got arm talent. That's why they're a quarterback. You know,
I mean, I have Caleb. To me personally, I have Caleb Dean as the only starter-ready quarterback in the draft. I do. I know a lot of people are crawling boards. Vikings seem like they're making a move on JJ McCarthy. A lot of people have talked about Jane Daniels, who I think absolutely needs to put some weight on before he's ready to start in the NFL. But I see Caleb as I. This is what I think, and this is in defense to Justin Fields. I heard a Spiegel talking today on the radio saying the Fields was going to be traded no matter what, no matter who was in this draft. If it was just Drake May, if it was just Jaden Daniels, the Bears, and if the Bears were anywhere from 5 to 10, they were going to try to package some pick the 2 first rounders and trade up to get that guy. I don't believe it. I believe Caleb Williams is the reason the Bears moved on from Justin Fields. I truthfully believe that. I don't believe I believe Fields would still be on this team if Caleb Williams was not in this draft. That's what says to me. That's why everything to me says that's the direction it's pointing. Like you said, something can pop up on a medical that might absolutely change Ryan Poles' perception. But I by everything in me says that Fields would still be a Chicago Bear if Caleb Williams wasn't in this draft. I think the timing of
yeah,
Justin Fields' 5th-year option
Yeah.
and the fact that Caleb just so happened to be in this draft and the fact that the Bears just so happen to have somebody else's first overall pick. I mean, honestly, everything just kind of seem to be stacked against Justin Fields in the moment. You know what I
And
mean?
Poles too. Potentially, he's being forced his hand because I could see it this way. I could see it this way, Brandon. If we had the draft class last year, okay, this year,
Oh, he
and
wouldn't.
everything was the
Yeah.
same, I would say, and we have these receivers that we got now and the upgraded ball
Fields would be
club.
the quarterback.
Fields would be the quarterback. No questions asked.
Absolutely.
But I do have a question for Bish because this is a very impressive test for me. I think if the roles were reversed and Jay Daniels was number 1 and Caleb number 2, would you still be okay with shopping number 1 and taking number 2 so you could get those draft picks by letting JD go for those draft picks and then taking Caleb? Or would you go in another direction and take option number 3? You see what I'm saying?
yeah. I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm about the draft capital, bro. I
Right.
really am. I'm about the draft capital.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it goes back to my opening statement when I said, what is our identity going to be offensively? With that being said, that pretty much lets you know who they're going to take. If we're going to be a team that's looking to be a very balanced offense type of team, where we're going to still run the football, heavy play action,
Yeah.
then that gives you some flexibility in regards to who you can take at quarterback.
Right.
Because we got some guys that's in this draft that's been under center and have a ton of snaps at quarterback. You know what I'm saying? This
got
isn't
you.
one of those situations where you're taking a guy that's only been a starter for 2 years. These guys, there's some guys in this draft that's got some snaps, man. So it comes down to what is that identity going to be and what is the real scheme that Waldron's going to run? That's why it's tough, man. It's really tough. And that's a heck of a question, bro. But if it's
Remember,
me,
draft
if
capital is only worth as much as the player you spend it on.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why for me, when I speak of draft capital, I need some second rounders. I need some second rounders and and I'm always looking into the future. So if I can get something for the next year's draft, first round next year, and say 2026, of course that would have to be on draft day in order to get that pick. But right now, if I can get a first rounder for next year, but if I can get some seconds to just make sure that I can get, so I'm drafting between 1 and 75, where you got some blue chippers in there, then absolutely. But it seems like Poles have been eyeing this draft class to make his move at quarterback.
I
That's why
agree.
that's why he made the move that he made, and I think his eye is on the guy that he wants to take. And with the type of receivers that he has went out and spent draft capital on a Keenan Allen, even for last year, bringing in a DJ Moore, getting a guy like a Caleb Williams with his quick release and with his arm talent, I think this is the move that he's looking to make, man. That's going to set everything apart. And I think he feels that he can do what he needs to do with other picks to get additional draft capital in this year's draft to fill out his depth spots.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what, Brandon, to piggyback off of what Bish just said, and going out and getting those receivers. Seriously, can you guys remember a time outside of Alshon Jeffries and Brandon Marshall where we were this excited about a two tandem wide receiver playing for the Bears? And we didn't even really have that tight end that was a dog in Cole Kmet and a backup tight end. Like, it was seriously like we had, I think, was it Bennett? And then it just dropped off and we didn't even have
Yeah,
Now,
free
tremendously
safety.
after that.
this is the best wide receiver tandem the Chicago Bears have
Oh,
ever
cool. I'm so excited. I'm ready to
had
go
in
get
their
like
history.
3 or 4 New jerseys this
And I'm
year.
gonna tell you something else, man. Don't count out Tyler Scott, bro. I
agree.
think that young man. I think that young man's gonna come back, man, and he's gonna play tremendously. I think
Yep.
I think that he's gotten over the lights being too bright, and I think he's also figured out what his role's going to be. And he's going to, and I think during the offseason, he's put in the work, both in the weight room and learning the route tree. Because remember, this is a kid that actually converted from running back to receiver.
And he was the
So
number one
now,
receiver on an undefeated college football program that had
yeah,
a tremendous offense.
Cincinnati?
Cincinnati went undefeated by
Yeah.
playing offense. I mean, they had a decent defense, but the offense is really what carried them through that entire season. And Tyler Scott was the number one option on that team.
And he can
and,
pick the brain of 2 perennial Pro Bowl wide receivers
yeah,
that can
bro,
help him unlock some
see.
stuff.
And see, by him have played running back, him being in the slot is not going to be a problem because he's used to contact.
I agree
You know
with
what
you,
I'm
Bishop.
saying?
They're not done with him.
No,
Wow.
I think that kid.
That's
I
cool.
really think that they're going to be able to
Cool.
add this kid into the offense, man, and utilize some schemes. And I'm gonna tell you somebody else not to count out, man. Everybody's dumped on this guy, and I get it. They went and got him in the third round, and everybody's like, "Oh, this kid, he's garbage. Get rid of him." But I'm here to tell you, man, that guy's got some speed. He's has something that you can't coach. He just needs to be developed. And again, our wide receiver group underperformed last season outside of DJ Moore, and I put that on coaching.
We
I
got rid of
believe
the
that-
receiver coach. That
Yeah,
back
so I
there
believe
sitting
this
up right there.
receiver coach is going to come in here and going to do some things. I'm
Yeah.
expecting some big things out of this receiver core this
Well,
coming season. That's why they made the moves that they made.
They signed Pettis. I do believe this. I know he is
I
a
forgot about
tremendous
that.
athlete.
Thanks, Brandon. Yeah,
He's a tremendous athlete, but I do think Velus Jones is going to have to impress somebody to remain on the roster. I think he's going to fight for a job. I do.
that's
And I,
fine.
you know,
And
you know what really,
and he
you know what
should.
really upsets me is as many mistakes as Velus made because it seems like it's his head's it's a mental thing. It almost seems like, but even though I know he made some grave mistakes. He did, but last year I understand they didn't put him at receiver too often. But why is the guy not returning the ball? That's
Well,
one
this is
thing
the thing. They put him out of position with returns.
yeah.
The kid
And
is
they
he's a
brought in
kickoff returner. He's not good with punch, bro.
yeah, he fumbles.
Returning
Yeah.
returning punch is way different than returning kickoffs, man. That the way that ball comes down and the way it
yeah.
spins on you, bro, it's completely different. Trust
Yeah.
me. And if it's something that you're not accustomed to doing, you know, and
Yeah,
that's why
he fumbled his opportunities away for sure.
he did with punch.
Yeah,
You
punt
know,
return.
and
That's what I
but
meant.
that's also why they brought Dante Pettis back also.
Yeah,
So
well,
Dante Pettis he's a heck of a
who was
special
the guy
team.
they brought last year? Trent
Who,
Taylor?
Homer? You talking
No,
about Homer?
Taylor.
Oh, you talking about Taylor? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, that guy.
yeah,
He
we
didn't do that
can't do
much
that
better,
again.
did he?
No, yeah, no more of
He
that.
didn't do that much better,
No
bro. I was
more of
like, well,
that.
shit.
Yeah,
I was like, well, he saved Bayless's job because he didn't do no better. So,
yeah. I think Richard Hightower was probably yelling at Flus when the game, like, we could give me something better, man. You know what I mean?
man, Jesus Christ, really? Yeah, this is what we got
You know
to
what?
deal with.
I want to touch up really quick on what we just said earlier, though. Continuity in availability. Sometimes the best ability is availability, and what happens right now is we got some guys that have continuity and availability, know the system, we're comfortable with them, we know they're good locker room guys, they got potential in Scott. We obviously brought Pettis back because our
He was a phenomenal blocker.
and a special teams too. He was great at
Yeah.
special teams, and we struggled last year on special teams. So that is huge, important part of our game. There's different assets, special teams, defense, offense, and what Bish just said rang true. I had a flashback, man. It was some PTSD. The first time they put me in on special teams as blocking, and kickoff and punts are way different. I mean, that ball just
Bro.
hangs. Like on the kickoff, it's like a rocket compared to a punt. And I'm like running down the field, getting ready to block. And I showed up way too early. And I'm not really like a fast guy, but I didn't realize why everybody was just kind of like trotting. It wasn't really like the same thing. You know what I mean? As far as like the blocking setup, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you're a guy to cut off and take off, and then just like it was a total stooge moment. So it's definitely timing. There's a whole different nuance in it, just from a blocking perspective. It changes a lot. So and then the reads too, obviously, right, Bish, for your guy to take off. It's
Well, and
totally
they're
different.
very different plays today because the kickoffs almost don't even kickoff returns almost don't even exist in the NFL.
Yeah, very true.
What kicker can't put it up? You know, almost every kicker in the league is capable of touchbacks.
Yeah,
These
that's
guys'
why I'm
legs
glad.
are tremendous.
That's why I'm glad they finally got it right and got Hester in when they did, man. Because that
Me
was
too, man. Me
too
too.
long. Hey guys, we could chop it up all night. We already had over 230 in the chat. Bish, you travel well. You bring your posse next time, anytime, every time. I promise you, we will not bore you with baseball next time you come back on, brother.
That's okay, man. That's all right. I appreciate it, man. That's why I'm glad you guys did, because I had to ask that question, man. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't the only one that's like,
Dude, you shocked me. You're like, I got a question for you guys about baseball. I'm like, what? What's going on?
I mean, man, dude,
Jackson don't play no more.
I'm so over it, bro. I'm just like, man, I'm like, really?
I'll be honest. I was
when
shocked.
I come to town, man, I go to White Sox games, man, because I get a chance to hang out with some buddies of mine, man, and we just drink and eat, man, and just have a great time, bro.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, man. Like I said, we're gonna always support our Chicago teams, man.
Yes, sir.
But at some point, man, we gotta hold our ownership accountable, man. We deserve better as fans, bro. We
100.
really do.
Yeah, absolutely. But we should.
But hey,
On that
man,
note-
thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for having me
Yeah.
again. I appreciate it. Anytime, brother, I'm here. Just give me a holler, man. And as long as I got enough notice, man, I'd love to jump on. But I want to address something somebody put in the chat real quick, man. And
Please
I
do,
completely
please do.
agree. We've been talking about wide receivers.
Yeah.
There's one that nobody's mentioned, man, and I would love to see the Bears get, bro. If they could find a way and get some extra draft capital, if we can get that doggone Xavier Legette. If we can get him, bro, and add him to the receiver core,
Yeah.
and I'm saying if we choose not to take one in the first round or anything like that, man, just another weapon, I would be happy with that.
Yeah, I think it was the combine or he climbed up a little bit in draft board, so he's starting to get some notice.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But but again, it's so deep, man. I mean, you got what, Keon Coles. There's so many guys, man, that you can start running down the list on. I don't think you can really miss. And if you got a coaching staff that can really develop, I think whoever they get can be an asset to this team, guys, especially with the veterans that we have in place now. But again, fellas, thank you for having me on the show, man. I love it, man. I love chopping it up with you guys, man. You guys keep it exciting, man. Tracks, you a fool, brother. You a fool, man. But I appreciate you. And Brandon, you so laid back and cool, man. But you be right on, spot on, and you made me do some thinking tonight, bro. You really did, and I appreciate that, man. So
Hey, it's always a pleasure to talk
anytime
to
you
you,
guys
Bishop.
have me, I'm here.
Thanks.
Hey,
Bishop.
I thought you were going to go in another direction. I thought you were going to zig, but you zag. I thought you were going to say Odell because he got released. I thought you were going to say Odell Beckham.
You know what, man? I love Odell, man, but you know, if I want to see Odell go back to Baltimore, no place else. I'd rather see him go back there, man, and run it back with those guys. I don't want to see him put on nobody else's jersey, man. Go back to Baltimore and run it back with Lamar one more time, man. You know, especially now that they got, Mr. Henry. You know, I think that would be crazy, bro.
Yeah, that's lethal.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I think that would be crazy.
Yep.
And I would love to see that, man. So if Odell's gonna go anywhere, I want him either put on a Ravens jersey again or call it quits, bro.
Oh, hang it up. Yep.
Hang it up. Yeah. All right, guys. Hey, thanks again.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, fellas. Y'all have a good night, man.
You too, Bishop.
Shut down up, bear down.